dark haze. Ladies of the night with eyes of red, vampires in the alleys where good men dread, wolfmen howling beneath the pale moon. But justice is coming and coming soon. From saloons to graveyards where evil sleeps, they walk among us, secrets they keep, nightmare hunters with souls ablaze, cleaning up this town through the dark haze. Cryptids themselves, yet they stand tall against the darkness, answering the call for every lost soul, every whispered prayer. They fight for the light in the midnight air. From saloons to graveyards where evil sleeps, they walk among us, secrets they keep, nightmare hunters with souls ablaze, cleaning up this town through the dark haze. The night is young, the hunt begins. For against the darkness where hope never ends.
Good evening, folks, and thank you guys for joining us on another edition of the Nightmare Hunter podcast. In the studio tonight, we got Robbie Jed Rains coming to us all the way from the hills and mountains of South Carolina, and Steve Wildman Monrotis is here with us tonight. We are real glad to have him. He's coming from the other side of town, about 2 miles from 2 or 3 miles from where I'm at. And unfortunately, we won't have Doc tonight as he's feeling a little bit under the weather. He's fighting a cold, so y'all keep Doc in your prayers. But boys, how the hell are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Oh, hanging in there. I'm pleased to be here. You know, I seem to show up kind of like cryptids do, so I might as well show up on this broadcast.
The occasional profile shot as you walk across the road.
Yeah, at least we start off the night with a clear video. I can't promise what everybody's going to be looking like at the end, but you know.
Fair point. Well, folks, tonight we are going to be talking about a subject we've actually covered before, only it turns out there's a lot more to this. The Drury Mincy Conservation Area is in southern Missouri along the Arkansas border. It's 5,500 acres of some of the roughest terrain and thickest forest you're going to find. And to make matters worse, it's part of the Mark Twain National Forest. So right there, it's already Cryptid Alley. We talked about an incident that allegedly involved some members from the Missouri Department of Conservation, which was kind of an unconfirmed rumor, but we started digging, and I happened to run across a source. I can't really give his name, mainly because I don't want to risk his identity causing him any trouble. But he was able to elaborate and fill in a lot more gaps. Apparently, MDC has been dealing with Drury Mincy for a lot longer than we knew. Reports of strange occurrences happening in Drury Mincy dating back to at least the late 70s. Possibly even before that, but this gentleman only knew dating back to 1978. Now, we're going to cover some of the main things he told me tonight. But we're not going to cover all of it because a lot of them are just like, heard something walking on the porch, saw something, go across the road on two legs in my high beams, that kind of thing. Those, we might talk about at another point, but tonight we're going to talk about the truly creepy ones. Some of the things that have happened down there, not just the incident you guys are familiar with, but a lot more leading up to that. Then as we jump into this, I'm kind of set the stage a little bit. But there are places here in the Ozarks that the night just doesn't fall; it descends, heavy, thick, and alive. And Steve can tell you from personal experience that's the way Joe Bald feels. It's oppressive when it gets dark. There are places where the trees lean in too close, like Blunk Road, like they're listening to you. Places where the wind carries voices that don't belong to the living. Places where the ground remembers every footstep you take, and something beneath it remembers you. Drury, Mincy is one of those places. For nearly 50 years, people have walked into those woods and come back different, if they come back at all. Hunters chased by screams that weren't human. Campers surrounded by eyes that moved too fast to be a normal animal. Runners paced by something that matched their stride in the dark. Rangers who fired their weapons and watched the bullets disappear into fur and muscle that didn't bleed. Something lives in those old hollows. Something old, something territorial, and something that has learned the shape of us and learned how to run us down. Tonight we're not just telling stories, we're walking into the dark with them, step by step, decade by decade, until the thing that's been stalking the ridges finally steps into the light. Welcome to the Nightmare Hunters, folks, and welcome to Drury, Mincy, where the woods don't just watch you, they follow. So, boys, Steve, since you just joined us tonight, do you want to start us out with the coon hunter story?
Absolutely. And I'm actually kind of excited because of all the things that y'all have covered on the show when I haven't been here. I'm not familiar with this one, so I'm going to be reacting along with y'all. So pretty excited.
Well, Steve, where we were at on Combs Ferry is about 10 miles from this.
Oh, okay.
It's just down the other side of Branson. Hey, thank you, William. Thank you for sponsoring the channel. Thanks, brother.
Alrighty.
That was Bobby Singleton that gave out.
Oh, thank you, Bobby. Bobby, thank you for gifting the subs. That's awesome, and congratulations to everybody that won. Oh, we'll be doing that later tonight too because it's January.
Sweet. And this one is called "A Woman in the Woods." It was the fall of 1978, one of those warm Ozark nights where the air feels thick enough to drink and the moon hangs low and swollen over the ridgelines. Two brothers from Kirbyville, Earl and Tommy, were out coon hunting in the Drury Mincy Conservation Area. They'd hunted those woods since they were boys. They knew every ridge, every hollow, every game trail. Their dogs were ahead of them, weaving through the brush with the confidence of animals that had never known fear, until they did. The first sign was silence, not the natural quiet of the woods settling. This was abrupt, unnatural, like someone had pressed a mute button on the entire forest. The cicadas cut off mid-buzz. The night birds stopped calling. Even the wind seemed to die. Then the dogs froze. Both hounds looked up mid-stride, bodies rigid, tails tucked so tight they nearly touched their bellies. One of them, a dog that had once treated a black bear, let out a trembling whine Earl had never heard before. Tommy whispered, "What the hell spooked him?" Before Earl could answer, the scream came. It tore through the trees like a razor, high, sharp, unmistakably human. A woman in agony, a woman begging for help. Earl's blood ran cold. Tommy shouted, "Ma'am, where are you?" The woods answered. The scream came again, closer this time, louder, echoing through the timber like it was moving towards them. The sound wasn't just loud, it was wrong. Too long, too deep at the end, like something was trying to imitate a human scream and almost getting it right. The dogs bolted, not toward the sound, away from it, straight back down the logging road toward the truck. The brothers ran after them, branches whipping their faces, boots slipping on loose gravel. Behind them, the scream rose again, longer this time, layered with a low, vibrating growl that didn't belong in any human throat. Something was running behind them. They could hear it, heavy footfalls pounding the earth, snapping branches, closing the distance with terrifying speed. Earl didn't dare look back, but he felt it, felt the weight of it, felt the heat of his breath on the back of his neck. Tommy gasps, "It's right behind us." The The scream came again, so close it rattled Earl's teeth. They burst into the clearing where the truck was parked. Earl dove into the driver's seat, Tommy slamming the passenger door just as something crashed into the truck behind them with enough force to shake the truck. Earl turned the key. The engine coughed and then stalled. The scream rose again right outside the driver's window. Earl tried again. The engine roared to life. He floored it, gravel spraying behind them as they tore down the road. The scream followed them for nearly a quarter mile, echoing through the trees, fading only when they hit the main road. When they reached town, they went straight to the sheriff. He listened. He nodded. He said, "Probably a bobcat." But bobcats don't chase grown men. Bobcats don't run on two legs. Bobcats don't scream like that. The brothers never returned to Drury, Mincy, and the dogs refused to go near the woods for the rest of their lives.
And that's kind of a common theme. Everything that I can find, there's been lots of stories of people hearing a woman screaming deep in those woods. And again, that's 5,500 acres, which when you think about it is a lot of acreage. But then you add to that it's literally part of the White River watershed, and it rolls right into the Ozark National Forest and the Mark Twain National Forest. There is a lot of unbroken land down there where they've got plenty of game, plenty of food. That is a perfect environment for something like this. Something large could live down there comfortably for a long time. There are at least 3 major lakes within short walking distance of Drury, Mincy. Lake Taneycomo, Table Rock Lake, and Bull Shoals Lake are all right there. And then once you get over into the Arkansas side, Beaver Lake's not very far. So there are a lot of big lakes right there with plenty of food, plenty of fresh water, plenty of habitat. And a lot of the stories I've heard from even campers have talked about these strange, high-pitched, like screams of a woman coming from those deep woods. And now I know a lot of you are gonna say that those same screams can be attributed to bobcats and mountain lions, but every one of them has said it's not like that. It's like something you can feel in your bones, and many times that it's actually paced and gone around people's campsites.
Well, a bobcat ain't that darn big either.
Right.
Well,
I've run into a couple of them. They're scary enough for their size, but
bobcats are nasty. But I've seen coon dogs chase bobcats. They're not afraid of bobcats.
That's what I was about to say. I can understand the sheriff making the comment, well, it's probably bobcat. Coming from somebody who's been in the woods at night and heard a bobcat yell, it does sound like a woman's being attacked. I mean, 100% hands down. If you've never heard it in real life, it'll curl your hair, even if you ain't got any. So I can understand, that skepticism coming from that. But like I said, trust your dog. How many times have you heard me say that? Trust your dog. Trust your dog. Trust your dog. 2 grown hounds ain't going to run from a bobcat.
They don't run from a black bear either.
They may get their butts whipped. They may get scratched up, but 2 grown hound dogs are going to jump the bobcat.
And I've seen hounds jump mountain lions.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's for those dogs to turn tail and take back off to the truck. That speaks of something that they considered a superior predator. Because
Wyatt says they had a Blair Witch style scream and went back a few days later and found a 19-inch track. Yeah.
Oh. Keep curling my hair like that, I'm going to look like these 2 guys.
And the thing is, this was not some of the other stuff that we've read before. You can chalk up to curiosity. Like, there's a couple of stories we did the other night, testing the door, tapping the window, looking in the window. You can write some of those off to curiosity. This, in my estimation, was pure predation. I mean, they were being chased down, and it actually collided with the truck several times. I mean, that's not curiosity. That's
I think this thing was honestly trying to get them.
Well, if it was just simply territorial stuff, Robbie, wouldn't it have kind of called off the pursuit once it got out of foot range?
If it was territorial, 9 times out of 10 in a territorial thing like that, that's all they're trying to do is run them out. Some animals will continue to pursue. but not like once they got in the truck and the truck took off. Just about every known animal is probably going to give up at that point. They're not going to chase down a vehicle for.
And 1978 was well before cell phones, so there's no chance of them calling. Well, hell, in 1978, I don't think most of Southwest Missouri even had 911 service.
No, 911 didn't come around till probably 84, 85, somewhere in there, maybe even later.
And even then, it only hit the cities.
Yeah, it wasn't in. It
took years before all the rural communities had it.
Yeah, because we had a route address until I was in junior high. And that was in the early 90s.
KC's right. A bobcat ain't going to hit the side of a truck hard enough to shake it.
No.
And a mountain lion might have jumped into bed, but I've never heard of a mountain lion slamming into the side of a truck.
Well, like a bobcat's not going to chase two grown men. It might scream at them to scare them out, but it's not going. Would it chase a child or a something?
It would have caught a child.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's not even going to attempt to chase two grown men, and
especially armed.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's chasing two grown men and two grown hounds. It's not one bobcat's not going to do that.
Well, it also chased the truck, for a good distance, screaming the whole time.
Well, throw the truck part out. It's not. It wouldn't even have got to the truck part if it'd been a bobcat.
Right. Bobcat would have squalled and then never come out for risk of odds of being shot.
They are pretty skittish.
It's pretty rare to even see a bobcat. I've heard them, but it's pretty rare for them to come out where you can see them.
Oh yeah, the one that I found in the dumpster here at the apartment, let out a good scream or a hiss or whatever you want to call it when I opened the lid, and the two of I had a mutual agreement that I was going to back away, and it got out of there and it took off into the woods, hightailed it.
There's a lot of folklore here in the Ozarks about women screaming in the woods, and it's often been associated to not only mountain lions but the Ozarks howler and even Bigfoot.
And Don's got a point. What if it had rabies? Well, yes, rabies can cause animals to act like they wouldn't normally. But Steve, you jump in on this. There's still things in that even if it had rabies, it's not going to attack a truck. It's not going to chase a truck.
No, rabies takes out higher function. Basically, the animals kind of revert more to their lizard brain kind of functioning. It changes the brain activity of the animal to try to aggressively spread the virus. So it would attempt to bite something easy to bite, so it could make more rabies. But it's not going to have enhanced dexterity. It's not going to turn into some kind of super cat that can, knock a shit.
And even if it had been a rabid cat, the dogs wouldn't have ran from it.
Yeah.
No.
They'd had to pull the dogs away so they wouldn't get bit.
Yeah. You'd be treating
I
your dogs.
think a lot of people sometimes think that Stephen King wrote the definitive thing of what happens on rabies, but I mean, that was embellished. Cujo would he have attacked and probably bit some people that came around the house? Yeah, but he was
writing a horror story, so the
whole scene in the car and him doing that that's embellished.
Yeah, him tearing up that gremlin, whatever it was that they were driving.
Yeah, I think it was a gremlin. Yeah.
Gremlin or a Pinto, one of the two.
Wyatt, I'm right there with you. I was wanting to actually get down to Drury, Mincy this week to get some pictures for tonight's show, but I couldn't get a schedule clear with Noah. So I didn't want to go alone, and I didn't know if you were working or not. It was kind of a last-minute decision, but I still want to get down there ASAP.
Well, I'm off on Monday and Tuesday.
We might have to make something happen. Also, they described it as running on two legs.
Yep.
Yeah.
That kind of rules out mountain lions and bobcats.
Haven't seen too many who'll do two legs.
Well,
that'd be a trick.
You have to argue for the known species first before you can.
Oh, absolutely. But again, if it was any known species, the dogs wouldn't have ran.
100% agree.
This was something that scared the crap out of a couple experienced hunting dogs.
Have a couple experienced hunters too.
Mm-hmm.
These
said the hunters never went back to Drury Mincy, and the dogs wouldn't hunt after that. They were done.
Yeah, these are experienced armed rednecks. And I say that term affectionately because I self-identify. They would have. I don't know. It's like most of the guys I know. They'd have shot first and asked questions later.
I'm too fat to run. I'd have had to been backing up shooting.
Well, that's why I only carry 9mm when we're out. So I only have to take you out so I can get away. I don't have to arm for cryptids.
Casey says, Steve, you're going back in the woods?
I knew I had that coming to me. I was waiting on it. I'll just wear my brace. I'm paying that bill again.
Lima Mike Foxtrot says Drury Mincy sounds like it should be a creepy place in the UK. It does kind of, but it's here right here in Southwest Missouri. So, boys, just being the skeptic, cougars do scream like that. Maybe not that loud, but it does happen. It's just the pursuit that's hard to explain. Yeah, cougars will chase people, but I've never heard of a cougar slamming into a truck. And they don't walk on two legs. So what do you guys think about it? Y'all in the chat sound off too. What do you guys think? Hi, Jake. Hey, Jeff.
Well, from the strictly agnostic viewpoint that I've always been known to take here on the show, the only thing that could fit moving on two legs would be a bear. But bears don't run on two legs. Once they commit to something, they go back down on all fours. The only other thing that I could think of native to Missouri, at least in 1978, that would have been heavy enough to, sound that heavy on, cats move lighter on their feet. For it to be a cat big enough to sound that heavy, it would have to be something like a mountain lion. None of the two work. I'm sorry, it just don't work.
Well, there are two things I specifically want to point out about this. Number one, they said it sounded like it was on two legs, but they never saw it. Okay, so with that in mind, but also remember, this is just the first story. And they get better from here. That's all I'm going to say at this point. The stories get creepier as we go. So this was just a great case of them being chased out of the woods. Something damaged their truck and scared their dogs so bad they wouldn't go back in the woods. Now, could it be a cryptid? Maybe. Could it be a mountain lion? Also maybe, but unlikely considering the behaviors. But as we get into these other stories, well, I think you guys, your minds just might change a bit. Robbie, do you want to start us off with the second one?
Sure. Encounter number 2 in 1992. The college campers. The holler that went quiet. In the summer of 1992, 3 college students from Missouri State, Mark, Jenna, and Luis, headed into Drury Mincy for a weekend of cheap beer, stargazing, and the kind of freedom you only get or you only feel when you're 20 and the world hasn't taught you to be afraid yet. They picked a primitive site deep in a holler, a place where the trees leaned in close and the night sky opened like a black ocean above them. They built a fire, passed around a bottle of peach schnapps, and laughed until their voices echoed off the ridgelines. Around 2 a.m., the forest went silent. Not quiet, silent. The cicadas cut off mid-buzz. The frogs stopped croaking. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Jenna noticed it first. Hey, guys, listen. Mark shrugged. Probably a coyote. Louis shook his head. Coyotes don't shut the whole forest up. Then the scream came. It tore through the hollow like a living thing, high, sharp, and human. A woman crying for help. A woman being torn apart. Jenna grabbed Mark's arm. Someone's hurt. Mark shouted in the darkness. Hello! Do you need help? The woods answered. The scream came again, closer, louder, layered with deep vibrating growls that didn't belong in any human throat. The sound circled them, moving fast, weaving between the trees, like something was running laps around their camp. Luis whispered, "That's not a person." Then they saw the eyes, yellow, reflective, too high off the ground, too wide set to be a deer. One pair, then another, then a third. The eyes moved fast, darting between trees, closing in, disappearing, reappearing from different angles. The creatures were circling them, tightening the perimeter with each pass. Jenna screamed as something brushed the side of the tent, hard enough to make the fabric ripple inward. A large growl reverberated through the ground beneath them, deep enough to rattle the metal poles. Mark grabbed a flashlight and shined it towards the tree line. The beam caught movement, something tall slipping behind a cedar, too fast to be seen clearly, however, but big enough to shake the branches as it passed. Luis hissed, "We need to go, now." They scrambled out of the tent barefoot, grabbing only what they could carry. The moment they stepped into the open, the scream erupted again, this time from behind them. They ran. Branches whipped their faces, rocks cut their feet, and the forest seemed to close in around them, funneling them down to a narrow trail. Behind them, they heard footsteps, heavy, fast, and gaining ground. Something crashed through the brush to their left, and another to the right. They were being herded. Jenna tripped, and Mark hauled her up just as a shape lunged from the darkness, tall, fast, and silent, except for the low, rumbling growl that followed them like a shadow. They reached the trailhead only because the creatures had left them. When they returned the next morning with a ranger, the tent was shredded. Not torn, not chewed, but shredded. Vertical slashes, 8 feet off the ground, the fabric sliced clean through like it had been cut by something with claws and intent. The ranger stared at the damage for a long moment, jaw tight, eyes scanning the tree line. Then he said the line they would never forget. "Probably raccoons."
A big ass raccoon.
They knew he was lying. They knew he knew that they knew, but nobody said another word. They left Drury Mincy and never returned.
One of the things we talked about last time we talked about Drury Mincy was that in July, right before the 4th, one of the busiest camping times in the season, they unexplainably closed the campground at Drury Mincy. But what I found out when I was doing this research is there were other campgrounds that are also now closed too. There was only one public one, but there were a bunch of smaller primitive campgrounds. One right near the Arkansas border that was shut down sometime in the 80s and may be impossible to find now. So what do you guys think? What do you think about this one? It was definitely coordinated, predator behavior. Three sets of eyes, that's at least a pack.
Yeah. Wouldn't have been cat behavior more, if we're assuming natural animals, something canine,
Yeah. I'm thinking canine too, because this sounds a whole lot like what happened to those runners in that story we talked about the other night too, being herded. Yeah. Except maybe this was more of a "you're in my territory, get out" type thing, because
the way they were being circled was not random.
No, but they pushed them specifically to an exit, not to an end like the others were being pushed to in the story the other night.
Yeah,
they were herded to the exit, not to a kill zone.
Yeah, because the other night the story was they were getting funneled in between two saddles off a running trail where there was no way to get out. So
just a guy there was no explanation given on why the other campgrounds were closed.
I feel like this was a territorial thing. Like
I agree.
Because I think
it's a little less threatening than the other one, but
I don't think that these three would have been, obviously they'd been drinking and they didn't have any any shoes on. They weren't expecting to be run out of there. These things could have caught them if they wanted to. So I don't think they intended for prey in this particular instance, just because I don't think we wouldn't have had this story had they done it, because they would have been able to catch them if they'd wanted them.
Yeah, I think they were being driven out, not necessarily hunted. But the Rangers comment, probably raccoons. Yeah, if you've got I got a large tent and it's shredded from the top to the ground, it wasn't raccoons.
8 foot off the ground, yeah.
That'd be the biggest damn raccoon you've ever seen.
Could have been something with raccoon type claws though, or paws.
Which is the way they describe dogman hands.
So maybe he was saying something without really saying it.
Maybe. It's entirely possible. I don't think this was a random encounter. I think this was a territorial display, and they wanted those kids the hell out of there. But there ain't no way I could have not laughed when he said raccoons. Right. Like, seriously? Raccoons?
Hey, maybe the raccoons just were attracted to the peach schnapps.
Well, I've heard of raccoons getting into trash in camps, but I ain't never heard of raccoons shredding a tent.
No. I had a raccoon undo a zipper on a tent one time.
Yeah, or shredding a trash bag maybe, but a tent,
right? George McPhillips says, did they backtrack? I'm curious. They didn't backtrack. They left and came back the next day to get their stuff with a ranger.
Would have loved to know what the ranger thought.
What he actually thought, as opposed to the raccoons comment?
Well, yeah, as opposed to what he's paid to tell him.
Yeah. This one, I think the tension got ratcheted up a notch. Yeah, they didn't have dogs, but this was a case where they could have easily gotten these kids if they wanted them. Mm-hmm. Of course, I say kids. They were in their 20s and in what was that? 81, 92. They're in their 20s and 92. That means they're my age.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Shoot, we might have gone to school together had I gone to MSU a couple years earlier. I started there in 94.
I went there in 91, 92. So what do you boys think? And those of you that are listening, what do you guys think?
Go with these three then, DA?
I may have went to school with them. What do you guys think?
Schnapps?
I've never been a fan of schnapps. Too sweet.
I think it was a territorial thing. I think because it said they were laughing and cutting up, until getting louder and louder. Obviously, out there drinking,
probably playing music.
Getting louder and louder, and disturbing the local, so to speak. And they got tired of it, and they pushed them out.
Yeah, I'm trying to sleep. Get out.
Yep.
Or trying to
don't belong here. Get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's some deep woods to be out in too. That is some thick woods. If you get back at some of those old logging trails back there, there might not be another human for, 3 or 4 miles in any direction you want to pick. And from what we looked at on the map, once you get into certain parts of Drury Mincy, there's only one way in and out. Unless you've got a boat. Hey, Arkansas. Good to join us, dude. Miss Lene says, I think the critters in that place don't want visitors. I would agree. Because there are no campgrounds down there with power. All of the one remaining one that got shut down was primitive as well, just like Joe Bald, just like Combs Ferry. There was no power ran to any of it.
It does make it a little harder for somebody to argue they were shut down because of budgetary concerns.
Right.
I mean, realistically, how much budget does it take to keep a a primitive campground open, you mow it once a week,
Yeah.
take out the trash.
And have someone come in, and I don't even think they had bathrooms. So you have somebody make sure that all the cat holes are getting filled in.
Right. Yeah. Or at least, check to see how full the latrines are, whether you need to move it.
Yeah. Dig a new one.
Yeah.
Yeah, pagan. Yet large power boxes in the woods. We found those in Joe Bald.
Yep.
Yeah. Unexplainably, for a campground with zero power ran to it, there are these massive transformer boxes just in the middle of the dang woods. I'd be interested to see if there's some out there in Drury, Mincy.
Why are the campgrounds needing 443 phase?
Yeah, they were 3-phase because cables were about that big around.
Steve, I think this one's directed at you.
Possibly. Quite possibly. We will call him Louise to keep his identity secret.
Yeah, this one, I think, is a little more compelling than the first one. Yeah, the first one was pretty dang creepy, and it ran into their truck. But I think that these deliberately force these kids just to leave. And to me, that's more indicative of something intelligent, not just a random cat out there.
Yeah.
They wanted them gone, and they made them leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted them gone. They made sure they left.
Mm-hmm.
Roxanne, I would not be surprised to find out that they do.
I think that's what those power boxes are for.
Yeah. And when we were looking at that OnX app, when I looked up Joe Bald on the OnX app, it showed roads in Joe Bald that aren't there. It showed roads going back to sections we can't get to unless we go through the woods. What was that?
Oh, something growling, honestly.
It did. I was beginning to think that was just on my headphones, but
Did the bush outside your window change shifts again? Or
it
something?
may have. I took a headphone out. I don't hear it now. Okay, that's weird. Didn't y'all hear that?
Yeah. The chat.
Nancy said she heard it. Yeah, I don't know what that was. Okay, that's kind of freaking wild.
Harley didn't sneak back in and start snoring, did he?
No, he's gone. His little self-made bed that he made out of my throw rug. No, he's not in the room.
Yeah, if he had been, he'd exfilled.
Yeah, that could have easily been him snoring. He does snore pretty loud, but he ain't in here.
Yeah.
Minxie says rather growlish. It did. It sounded like a growl. Huh. Well, we still got about 15 minutes before our first commercial break. Let's go ahead and jump into encounter number 3. And I'll do this one since I guess it's my turn. This one's called The Thing Behind the Cedar. It's about a bow hunter. It was early November of 2003, the kind of cold morning where the frost clings to the cedar needles and every breath hangs in the air like smoke. A bow hunter named Rick Dalton hiked into Drury, Mincy long before dawn, following a narrow game trail he'd walked 100 times. He reached his stand, a weathered wooden platform wedged between 2 oaks, climbed up and settled in. The woods were still, too still. Even the usual pre-dawn rustlings of squirrels was absent. Rick chalked it up to the cold. But the woods weren't quiet because of the weather. They were quiet because something else was there. As the sky began to lighten, Rick heard a soft crunch of leaves behind him, which is kind of what happened to me in my deer stand. Not the skittering of a squirrel, not the delicate steps of a deer. This was heavier, deliberate, and slow. Wow, that just gave me chills because that's literally what happened in my deer stand. He turned his head just enough to glance over his shoulder, which I couldn't do because the tree was too big. At first he saw nothing, just the dense wall of cedars. Then something moved. A shape stepped out from behind a tree. Tall, broad, upright. Rick froze. The creature stood half hidden in the shadows, its outline unmistakable. It was built like a man, but wrong in every proportion. Shoulders too wide, arms too long, head too low. A long tail swayed behind it, slow and rhythmic, like a metronome marking time. Rick's breath caught in his throat. The creature took one step forward, silent, smooth, predatory. It wasn't stalking, it wasn't hunting. It was approaching, with the calm confidence of something that knew it was the apex predator in these woods. Rick slowly raised his bow, but the creature tilted its head, watching him with an intelligence that made his blood run cold. It wasn't afraid. It wasn't startled. It was curious. The creature stepped closer, and the rising sun caught its eyes. Amber, reflective, unmistakably feline. They locked onto Rick's with a focus that felt almost human. Then it exhaled. A deep, rolling chuff, the sound big cats make when they're assessing something. Not a threat, not prey, something in between. Rick's hands trembled. He didn't dare draw the bowstring. The creature took another step, closing the distance to less than 30 yards. Rick could see the muscles ripple beneath its fur, the way its chest expanded with each slow breath. It was massive, easily 7 feet tall, maybe more. Then it stopped. It stared at him for a long, unbearable moment. Rick felt like he was being weighed, measured, judged. Then, without warning, the creature stepped backward into the shadows, one smooth, fluid motion, and vanished into the cedar. No sound, no rustling, nothing. Rick waited. 5 minutes, 10, 20, then he heard it. A soft, deliberate exhale right behind his stand. The creature had circled him. Rick didn't move. He didn't breathe. He didn't blink. He felt the weight of its presence below him, felt the vibration of its breath through the wooden platform. It was close enough that he could smell it. Earth, musk, and something sharp, like ozone before a storm. Then the breathing stopped. Rick waited another 10 minutes before climbing down, every muscle in his body shaking. He didn't run. He didn't look back. He walked out of the woods with slow, careful steps of a man who knew he was being watched. He never returned to that stand. He never hunted Drury Mincy again. And he never forgot the feeling of being evaluated by something that should not exist. He flat out saw it.
Yeah, broad daylight.
That thing was daring him to do something.
Yeah, I'm picturing it tilting its head.
And for it to move completely around and get in behind him without him seeing it, yeah, that's freaking creepy. I've seen that chuffing sound it talked about. I've seen tigers do that kind of.
Yep.
Generally right before they leap. That is big cat behavior.
Yep. Something tells me wouldn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. Who's a good kitty? Throw it a catnip toy and run like hell.
Yeah.
So,
Mary, these are stories I put together based on what I was told from a person who was there. So I wrote the stories, but I wrote them based on the information I was given. Nick Morris says, handy daddy spray bottle, laser pointer, get the cat chasing the laser pointer.
right. Like, you let me know how that works.
Yeah.
The last thing he ever said was psst, 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 psst.
Yeah.
Yep.
What happened to Steve? I don't know. Last thing I saw, he was trying to scratch its belly.
Chin
Sounds about
scritches.
right.
All we heard was the last words Steve ever said were kitty, 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 kitty.
Oh,
That's
funny.
for it to just boldly walk out where he could see it. It wasn't afraid of him,
No.
and I think it knew what that bow was. or at least it understood it was a weapon. Maybe not know exactly what the bow itself is, but understood it was some sort of weapon.
Yeah. Well, the fact that it tilted its head like that, it kind of almost, fits under that like a dare. It's like, was it like Doc
Cryptic
Hollis?
Crystal? Yes, I would. She said, Cryptic Crystal says, do big cats like catnip? I just read an article about a mountain lion in Colorado that broke into a pet store, and they found it stoned out of its gourd after having played with all the catnip toys.
Yep.
Sleeping in the middle of the floor. So, yeah, big cats like catnip. That might be something we could take with us to slow them down if they're after us, Robbie. They'll drop a few catnip toys, at least as a distraction.
Yep.
So what do you think about it, the way it's circled?
Intelligence. I mean, I know predators will circle anyway, but most predators are not going to step out where you can see them, look up, let you know that they know you're there, or that they're there, and then still circle around. Usually if a predator knows it's made, that's it. It's going to move on to something else.
William, that's interesting. I wonder if this could be something like that. I would not rule out Native American magic involved, because this area was once all Osage land. William says he'll send it to us. Awesome. Hillary says she's not changing that litter box. And when it backed up into the cedars and just disappeared without a sound, that to me is like it was letting it know, you're not going to stop me. You can't even predict where I'm going to come out next.
Well, he's lucky he didn't decide to jump down then.
Yeah, and when it got up behind us, because it might have been waiting for him to do just that.
Oh, like Homer Simpson going into the ivy.
Yeah, basically. Just step back and fades out of the way.
So apparently he was pretty high up. If this thing was 7 feet tall and it got underneath the stand, there again, it
probably still could have reached him if it wanted to.
If it's feline, it could have got up there. So that kind of makes me wonder, well, was this just it messing with him just to let it know that this is its territory, let him know that this is its territory?
I don't know.
All right, looking at this from a skeptic's point of view, I understand it was very early in the morning and low light can distort your vision. But the fact that it remained on two legs the entire time, cougars don't do that. Bears don't do that. They will stand on their hind legs, but they're not going to back up into the woods while still being on their hind legs. But the tail, that's the tough part. It was on two legs and it had a big tail.
Kind of rules out a bear.
Yeah. And it was on two legs, so you would think that would rule out a cougar or a bobcat. Being 7 feet tall, that also kind of chucks a bobcat out the window. Maybe even higher.
What?
Yeah. Even a bobcat on its main legs wouldn't be that tall. Or a cougar.
I don't think this is a case of misidentification. I think he saw what he saw.
Even a big mountain lion, it was like, let's say it was, for whatever reason, he saw it and it was up on his back legs, leaned against the tree with his front legs. That's still not going to be 7 feet tall. That's you're looking at 5.5 to 6 feet,
maybe depending on the cat. If it's a female, not even that big.
Yeah. So
a big male might be 6 feet tall on its hind legs, but this thing stood on its hind legs. It didn't say anything about it leaning against a tree. It stepped out where it could be seen.
Right. I'm just saying, devil's advocate, saying even if somebody says, well, it was just a mountain lion leaned up against a tree, and him say it broad shoulders. Well, that cats don't have broad shoulders. Cats are built for speed, stealth. They don't have broad shoulders. They have narrow,
very narrow left to right.
And I don't know. I'm kind of torn between, I know this thing could have got him, but I kind of think when it got underneath the tree that it was almost waiting for him to get down.
there might have been a little curiosity in there just to see what he would do. But I kind of think that if it had warned him, it could have got him. So I think it was more or less just kind of say, well, if he comes down, maybe I'll have a snack. But I'm just going to see what he's going to do.
Nick's got a good point. What if it was hunched over and not at its full height?
Well, he said the head.
Yeah, it did say it could be more than 7 feet.
Because he said the head seemed like it was kind of hung too low. So it's very possible it was kind of slouched over.
Mm-hmm. Like if it had stood completely up, it would have been much bigger.
William
Let me see if I can bring up this image that William sent. Let me bring this up real quick. Give me just a second. We've only got like 3 minutes until we've got to make a pause for the pay the bills, so to speak.
Very good point, little Patty's got. Cats do like to play with their meals.
That is a fact. Let me bring this up. I'm gonna share the screen here real quick. This is the drawing that William sent me of a Native American spirit. Jeez Louise. You know, that almost matches the description of an Ozark howler, too.
Yeah, it does. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Looks almost like a giant
moly.
hyena.
Well, it almost looks like it's walking on its front, walking on its
knuckles. Like on its knuckles, yeah. You can definitely see how that thing could stand up. William, thanks for sending that, dude. I really appreciate that.
I thought I saw a putty tat.
Yeah, I did.
I did saw a putty tat.
That's a big putty tat.
The real reason he was walking so slow out of those woods is he was pinching his cheeks shut so nothing else came out after him.
No kidding.
I would be. Dude.
Yeah, I would definitely be as the running joke is, that's definitely a brown pants moment.
Absolutely.
If he'd had a lump of coal, he'd probably had a diamond by the time he got back to his truck. If it was him.
That's a fact. That is a fact.
Yeah.
That now, when you take the other two encounters and then throw that one in, we're just digging into Drury, Mincy.
Well, and if we're going to go all in and say, these all potentially were what William just sent us, that adds a whole extra layer of, as Northwest put it, pucker factor.
Exactly. Boys, we're going to have to take a short pause to pay the bills. While we have a quick commercial break, if y'all need to top off your coffee or grab another drink or hit the restroom, now would be a great time. So stick with us. We will be back in just a few minutes as we take a short pause.
The new book, How to Research a Haunted House by paranormal investigator Margie Kay and professional researcher Violet Wisdom, is now available from Unex Media. This one-of-a-kind book explains how to do research on a house with uncommon methods and resources used by historic home researchers, and how to determine who may be doing the haunting and why. How to Research a Haunted House can be used by homeowners, renters, investors, and it should be in the library of all professional paranormal investigators. Get this unique book at unexmedia.com or amazon.com. That's unexmedia.com or amazon.com.
Hey everybody, this is Kerry Pocket Doc Davis from Dark Angel Medical, and you are listening to DA Ex Machina with D.A. Roberts. You may recognize me or some of my products from Dark Angel Medical in some of the Apex Predator, Lakeview Man, and Wild Hunt books, and you can get those products at www.darkangelmedical.com, along with training classes on how to use those products and save a life. Shoot us an email at info@darkangelmedical.com and be the difference.
The Unex Network presents a health and wellness spiritually based brand of hemp-derived CBD products made by Hopewell Farm in Harrogate, Tennessee. We apply our Cathara energy work with all of our plants and products. Our products made in small batches with only 2 ingredients of pure hemp, full spectrum crude oil, and coconut-derived MCT oil. Third-party lab tested for potency and legal THC levels with 6 strengths of 1 ounce oil to choose from. Know what you're buying and get what you pay for from Hopewell Farm. Applied directly to a specific area, Hopewell Farm topical salve in 1 ounce and ½ ounce sizes made with pure hemp crude oil, comfrey extract, and all natural ingredients. Find the Hopewell Farm link and coupon code on the Unex Network website at unexnetwork.com. That's unexnetwork.com.
And folks, we are back. Thank you guys for hanging out with us during that short commercial break. And to jump right back in with both feet, these first 3 encounters out of Drury Mincy are really nightmare fuel. I mean, that in and of itself says if we're going to go down to Drury Mincy, we need to go with a group and we need to be well provisioned. So, or as Doc would say, well heeled. Mm-hmm. But they just get creepier from here. So, folks, what do you guys think so far? Be interested to hear y'all's comments.
Well, I used the commercial break to get something a little stronger to go with my coffee.
Well, I've still got coffee, but when we start doing the next encounter, I'm probably going to have to step away for a minute. My diuretic is calling, so I may have to step away for just a minute. But I won't do that for a minute or two till we start the next one. Folks, questions, comments before we continue? What do y'all think?
Curtis says creepy.
Definitely creepy.
You know, I think if we go down there, DA, we need to make sure we get out of the vehicle and do a little bit of caw, tookie, like that evolution movie and just see what happens. How about you try it? I'll wait in the truck.
Yeah. I want to go down there and play that howl we've got. But I ain't doing that with just the 2 of us. That ain't happening.
Have you seen the new Frankenstein film? The one that Benicio del Toro just did? I bring it up because it's, it follows the book a little bit more closely than previous versions of it. Jacob Elordi plays the creature, but bringing it up, the roar that they give him in the film is what I imagine some of these things roaring like Bigfoot or whatever. It's on Netflix. If you got Netflix, check it out. We're literally talking the opening scene. The creature appears on the ice and you see it only in silhouette and it lets out this roar and then yells Victor's name. And so it's like, the words don't fit in a human throat kind of stuff. Yeah. I was watching it here in the bedroom by myself, that last rainstorm we had. And, I was completely sober, wasn't that late at night. It scared me. It scared me a bit. Just the, not the movie itself, but like the connotation, thinking of those sounds and some of the critters we've talked about and your books have talked about.
Well, these encounters here have given me a lot of ideas for more details in the books. And what William sent, that's definitely going to have to make an appearance. But I'm going to have to step away for just a minute. Harley's back, by the way. Oh, and while we were playing commercials, Harley did something I didn't expect. He went over by the back door, which is just on the other side of my monitor over here, and growled at it. So I'm going to go to the bathroom, and I should be back in just a minute or two. But I may grab the 1911 and step out on the back porch and see what's going on. But I will be right back. Steve, you want to go ahead and start in with the next encounter?
Absolutely will. I'll see you when you get back. Don't get 8.
That's not the plan.
Alrighty. Well, this one called is it's called, wow, let's try that again in English. This one is called the Ravine Scream, the scream that answered back. It was late November of 2006, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones and makes every sound in the woods feel sharper, closer. A deer hunter named Caleb Morris was tracking a wounded buck through one of the deeper cedar ravines in Drury, Mincy, a place locals avoided because the terrain swallowed sound and light in equal measure. Caleb followed the blood trail down a narrow slope, the cedar branches closing overhead like a tunnel. The air grew colder the deeper he went, the sunlight thinning until it felt like dusk, even though it was barely noon. He found the first sign of something. Let's try that again. He found the first sign something was wrong when the forest went quiet. Not the natural hush of animals bedding down. This was abrupt, total, like the woods were holding their breath. Caleb paused, listening. Nothing. Not a bird, not a squirrel, not even the wind. Then he heard it. A scream, long, metallic, echoing through the ravine like it was bouncing off the stone walls. It didn't sound human. It didn't sound animal. It sounded like something caught between the two, stretched too far in both directions. Caleb's heart hammered at his chest. He shouted, "Hello? You hurt?" The scream answered, this time from behind him. Caleb spun around, rifle raised. The ravine behind him was empty, just a wall of cedar trunks and shadow. But the scream had been close, too close. He took a step backward, and that's when he heard the second sound. Footsteps, heavy ones, moving fast. Not toward him, around. Something was circling him in the ravine. Caleb backed up slowly, trying to keep his rifle pointed towards the sound. But the footsteps shifted, left, then right, then behind him again. Whatever it was moving with impossible speed, using the terrain to mask its approach. Then he saw it. A shape, tall, broad, upright, slipping between the cedars 30 yards ahead. Not running, not hiding, just moving with a smooth, predatory confidence that made Caleb's stomach drop. He raised his rifle, but the creature vanished behind a boulder. Then the scream erupted again, this time from the opposite direction. Caleb realized with a cold, sinking dread that there wasn't just one. He turned and ran. The ravine funneled him forward, the walls rising steep on either side. Behind him, the footsteps exploded into motion, pounding the earth, snapping branches, closing the distance with terrifying speed. Caleb sprinted towards the slope that led back to the ridge, but halfway up, something crashed through the brush to his right, cutting him off. He skidded to a stop, nearly losing his footing on the loose dirt. A silhouette stepped into view at the top of the slope, tall, hunched, blocking the exit. Caleb froze. The creature didn't move, didn't charge, didn't scream. It just stood there watching him. Then another scream erupted behind him, so close he felt the vibration in his spine. Caleb bolted sideways, scrambling up the ravine wall, grabbing roots and rocks, clawing his way upward. The creature at the top didn't follow. It simply turned his head, tracking him with those reflective amber eyes. He reached the ridge and didn't stop running until he reached his truck. He slammed the door, locked it, and sat there shaking, listening to the woods behind him. No footsteps, no screams, just silence. The creatures had let him go. Not because they couldn't catch him, because they didn't need to. They had tested him, measured him, and decided he wasn't worth the effort. Caleb never hunted again.
Yeah, everybody, I'm fine. Two things though, kind of interesting. When I opened the back door to go outside, Harley would not go with me. And while I was standing out there with my pistol in my hand, every dog in the neighborhood is barking. Something's got every dog in the neighborhood going overtime.
Good Lord. Yeah, and for the
3D
record,
Hawk.
He lives in town. Well,
Yeah, I do live in town. 3D Havoc says, evening also, when are we doing a camp out down there? Well, maybe happening. So, I've already read that story, but only caught the reading of the last bit. What do you guys think of that one? He was being flanked.
That was a drive hunt, what that was.
Yep. I will only go camping down there if we were in an up-armored van. I hear Nixon police have one. Yeah,
he had one driving him towards the other one.
Yeah,
if he hadn't
I think you're right.
Climbed up that ravine.
Yeah, I think he was fixing to be kitty chow.
Yeah, he was about to get it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we need to borrow that MRAP that the
Greene County has.
Nixie PD owns.
Springfield's got one too, and so does Greene County. I don't think they're going to loan it to us though.
I'm thinking not. I need to find some more context on Springfield Police Department.
Hey, Eric, he said that's interesting considering, I was just talking to Eric about this yesterday. He said it's interesting considering what I just saw on 65 next to the cemetery, the old cemetery. Eric, did you see that image that William sent? William, if you haven't sent it to Eric, because that sounds a lot like what you said you saw, Eric. And it would certainly make sense for what's been going on, but that's another story. If you want to hear about that one, that's Eric's story to tell. I can't let the proverbial cat out of the bag on that one.
Yeah.
I think this was not just a random encounter. This was a coordinated move. I mean, they were pushing him into the waiting one.
Well, that's exactly how big cats and wolves and all hunt anyway.
Well,
usually
whatever it was had the high ground.
Yeah. Usually, when lionesses hunt African savanna, they'll have some that will push and run the herd and weed the slower or older ones out and push them towards a couple more that are waiting in the bushes to jump them.
It doesn't sound to me like they were actively hunting him. I think they were playing with him. I think they knew they could have had him at any time, and they wanted him to know it.
I don't know. To me, I think they were actively hunting him. I think they were pushing him. I mean, that's how you drive hunt deer.
Yeah, you're exactly right. But just playing devil's advocate here, some of the sounds he might have misheard, but not what he saw. I mean, he physically saw it. It's not, and it wasn't even that far away. Yes, adrenaline will do funny things to you, but it doesn't change the description, which matches the description from earlier encounters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I replied in the chat to Little Patty there.
Lone Queen says they knew he was coming too, tracking his kill, so maybe they've done this before. It's not the first time I've heard about cryptids actively taking kills from hunters. I lost a buck. I know a lot of hunters who've lost deer because what we said before, Robbie, that sometimes that gunshot means lunch.
Ringing the dinner bell.
It's ringing the dinner bell. It's an easy meal they don't have to chase down.
Yep. Let the tall naked pig do it.
Exactly.
That's no
dumb
different.
Hairless ape.
It's no different than crocs and gators and sharks and things like that hanging around fishing docks where fishermen clean their fish and throw the guts in. I mean, easy meal, and that's why people get snapped up from those places. Same thing,
Swimming where they throw in their guts, guts and everything. Mary Cole says, so y'all are thinking these are cat-like animals? Well, they're described as feline. They've been described as upright mountain lions. Basically a mountain lion walking on two legs. So it's got to be something. I mean, and this is not the first time we've heard of sightings of creatures like this.
Are there any reports of the Ozark's howler moving on two legs?
None I've ever heard.
Okay.
But howler stories are generally centralized to this region, so there's not that many really good eyewitness sightings of the howler. Most people that have reported seeing it have seen it crossing a road or crossing a trail. There are very few eyewitness sightings of it. Most of it is like something was killing my chickens, and I heard that howl. A lot of the Ozark howler folklore is auditory, but the times they have seen it, they've described it as being the size of a bear, but more like a cat or a dog, the way it moved. So, if it's one of these things, it would explain why it could get up on its hind legs.
Well, especially if it's using that tail for balance.
Yeah, Robbie, what do you think? You think there could be some crossover with this thing being either mistaken for or actually being the Ozark's howler?
Well, I mean, it's very possible, like you said. I mean, there's so many different descriptions of the Ozark's howler. I mean, I don't know that there's one definitive thing. You know, like
Right.
Bigfoot is Bigfoot. You know, Sasquatch. It's always described maybe some different features in the face depending on what species or subspecies it is. But there is no one definitive thing that says, "Well, this is the Ozark's howler. This is exactly what it looks like." Because you can put that in a search in Google and get 25 different pictures of what people think it looks like. So maybe this is what it actually is. I mean, it's possible.
Dorothy, I've been referring to them as felinoids, but
cat squatch.
Cat squatch. Cat squatch is funny, but I don't know. I mean, Catman, felinoid, take your pick. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if anybody's previously named these things, but basically they're like a feline dog man. I mean, it's so Catman maybe felinoid, feline man. I don't know.
What happened to the cast of Cats after it went off Broadway?
It's very, very off Broadway.
Well, Ted missed the opportunity to change the name of his song, didn't he? Cat Squatch Fever.
That's funny.
I hadn't heard much about this one. I've heard the Ozark's howler being described as, a cross between a hyena and a, African lion. I've heard people describe him as looking like the hellhounds on Ghostbusters. You name it, I've heard it. But yeah, I don't know what to make of that. Thinking of Tigra from the Marvel comics. Or no, DC, my bad.
Yeah. Lone Queen says a maneless lion and a cougar could be nearly identical. So are they mountain lions or lions and the manes are missing, or maybe the male is hiding? They kind of echo the lions of Salvo.
The lions of Salvo actually were maneless lions. I've seen them at the Field Museum in Chicago. They look like an overly muscled lioness.
Yeah.
The descriptions we've had basically said, the description we've had from people basically sounded like a mountain lion on two legs, but there was an American species of lion during the megafauna days.
American lion.
Yeah, the cave lion.
And the American lion. There was actually two.
Yeah.
PW 112473 says, D, have you heard of the hellhound near Nixa? I have. I've heard the story about the hellhound of Nixa. That's an interesting story. I think we talked about it a few times, but I want to dig into that more, see if I can find the actual locations where it's been seen. William says, remember my theory of the Shunkawarakan being able to crack its joints and stand on two legs can be a dog man? William, I absolutely agree with that, because I've taken so many encounter stories of people who said that a dog man approached on all fours and they heard a popping sound before it stood up, almost like it was changing the morphology of its hands. So yeah, that makes a hell of a lot of sense.
Well, I know it's kind of out of the realm of, but if you've seen that new Tarzan movie with Skarsgård plays Tarzan,
the way his hand morphology changes.
He said he spent all his life running his knuckles. He said it changes the morphology, and I know it was CGI, but when he put his hand down and leaned on it, it's the same
exactly.
Principle.
Yeah. Now it becomes a paw.
Yeah, he said it changes the bone structure.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that's no different than I believe it was Chinese women who were into foot binding and things like that, wearing the smaller shoes, progressively getting smaller and smaller, and changing the bone density, their bone structure of their feet to make their feet smaller. The same thing with the females in the African tribe that wear those rings around their neck to make their necks longer. They say if once it gets to a certain point, if they take those rings off, they can't even hold their necks up. They have to have those rings on deep because there's no more musculature left to hold it up. They've elongated their
Right.
necks too much. So I mean, stuff
Well,
like that.
even the prima donna ballet dancers, from wearing
Yep.
those shoes, they get like permanently like hammer-toed and stuff from from the toe
Well,
shoes.
and to some extent, we're that way anyway because our feet don't splay out like they're supposed to because we wear shoes all of our lives. Our toes technically should kind of splay out like that, but because we wear shoes all the time, that's why our feet are together like that.
Yeah,
Our
if you
toes
grew up not wearing shoes, your toes would be more splayed when you walk.
Yeah, you see that in some of these more primitive tribes where they don't wear shoes.
Well,
Yeah.
they said that's why Shoeless Joe Jackson could run faster than a lot of people could, is because he grew up not wearing shoes. He grew up just right down the road from where I live in Greenville, and my great grandfather actually watched him play in Greenville, and he said he was one of the fastest people he'd ever seen in his life. And he ran without shoes.
Yeah.
The way these guys have continually described Drury Mincy is exactly the way Blunk Road feels at night. Just like the woods are just pressing in on top of you. I mean, that last mile or so down to the river, you're basically driving through a tunnel of trees.
Was that Blunk Road that is the video footage for our intro?
No,
is
that's Joe Bald.
It is Joe Bald? Okay.
Mhm.
I said it looked familiar, but at this point it all kind of runs together to me.
Yeah, the intro and outro video, that's Joe Bald in the background.
Yeah, the video wouldn't have been that smooth if he'd been driving down Blunk Road.
Yeah, but Blunk Road's a little rough.
Picture the credits and all the guys in the picture are just
Yeah, Noah would have had his work cut out for him stabilizing that video.
I was gonna say you would need one of those what do they call it? That's not handy cams, they got another name.
Steadicam.
Steady cams, thank you. They got the counterweights and stuff on them.
Yeah, these would have been more of a shaky cam
Yeah, exactly.
because that road's more pothole than actual road.
Oh.
And severed deer head.
Severed deer head. Yeah, I remember when we were driving down there, I was leaning forward, looking at it, go, is that what I think that is?
And you're
Bobby's like,
what is that? And I said, severed deer head. He said,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
That's
there's
what I
a
thought.
freaking deer head sitting right in the middle of the road, out in the middle of nowhere.
See, I don't know if anybody else is having this reaction, but most of these little trips occur without me because I work nights. And I think to myself, normal people don't act like these two.
But we ain't the brightest bulbs in the pack, that's for sure. We do like to go out and kind of poke the bear, so to speak.
Yep.
So, boys, these first 4 stories, what's your takeaway from these?
Some similarities, but some differences too. But
Yeah.
they're all, the similarities are shared throughout all the stories. The screams, the stalking aspect, some a little bit more intense than others, but
Yeah.
all enough to make it pretty evident that it's the same type of creature.
hmm Well, and from the stories, I mean, growing up around this area, I've heard Dogman stories. I've heard Bigfoot stories. I've heard that the reason we see so many of them is that we're at a nexus of where the Bigfoot and the Dogman territories overlap. This is something else.
Nick's got this is also an area that's kind of isolated unto itself. It's literally between 2 lakes and a river watershed. It's kind of almost like an island in the middle of the Ozarks. It is surrounded on 3 sides by major lakes.
Yeah. Because some of its behaviors are dog-like, like the pack behavior. But overall, in the 4 stories,
lions hunt that way.
cat-like. Well, that's true. That's true. I'm thinking of
Nick's got an
tigers.
interesting theory. He said this is an out there theory, but what if Sasquatch and Bigfoot would hunt these mountain lions, and to fight them off, they had to evolve into something that could defend itself? That's that's as a plausible a theory as anything we've come up with so far, Nick. So that's not really out there. This is throw those theories out there, folks, because your ideas are just as good as ours. That's not one thing we can't stress enough out all of this. There's no experts in this field. Nobody has all the answers, despite what some people try and claim. We don't know what this is. We're still trying to figure it out. And we are planning an expedition down into those dark woods, those dark Ozark hills and valleys, to see if we can get some evidence collected personally and maybe have a sighting of our own. And, considering some of the other stuff we've seen prowling around the Ozarks, I think it's highly likely we're going to run into something down there.
Roxanne, that has already happened. There's been people reporting seeing velociraptors and things like that in Georgia, like for the past, 9 or 10 years, DA?
Mm-hmm.
Jessica's done several stories and shows from people reporting stuff like that.
Well, we need a lizard person, and then we need some kind of an alien gray, and I think we'll have the full set.
Well, there's Lizard Man in South Carolina.
Yeah. So, but from what I've heard, there are at least 4 primitive campgrounds in Drury, Mincy that have been shut down. I just don't know where they are. And some of them have been shut down for decades.
Sounds like there's a good reason for it too.
Yeah. All right, Robbie, you want to take us into the next one?
Sure thing. All right. This is from 2014. The Primitive Campers. 3 sets of eyes. In the summer of 2014, 4 friends, Casey, Brianna, Tyler, and Nate, set up camp at one of the primitive sites deep inside Drury, Mincy. They were seasoned hikers, the kind who prided themselves on choosing the most remote spots, the ones without picnic tables or fire rings or cell phone service. They pitched their tents near the tree line, built a fire, and settled in for the night of stories and cheap whiskey. Well, there was the first problem.
Mm-hmm.
The woods around them were alive with the usual chorus: cicadas buzzing, owls calling, the distant rustle of deer moving through the brush. Then, just after midnight, the forest went silent. Not quiet, but silent. The cicadas cut off mid-buzz, the owls stopped calling, even the wind seemed to die. Casey was the first to say something, saying, "Guys, something's wrong." Tyler laughed it off, but the others felt it too. The sudden heaviness in the air, the sense of being watched from every direction at once. Then the scream came. Here's the tie-in again.
Mm-hmm.
It erupted from the tree line like a living thing, high, sharp, human at first, then dropping into a guttural roar that vibrated the ground beneath them. The fire flickered violently as if reacting to the sound. Brianna grabbed Casey's arm, saying, "What the hell was that?" Before anyone could answer, the scream came again, this time from the opposite side of the clearing. Then again from behind them. 3 directions, 3 creatures closing in. Tyler shined his flashlight toward the trees. That's when he saw the eye shine. Yellow, reflective, set far apart, too high off the ground. One pair, then another, then a third. The eyes moved fast, darting between trees, weaving in and out of the beam like they were testing the light, testing the humans, testing the perimeter. Nate whispered, "They're circling us." Something heavy stepped on a branch behind the tent. Snap! The sound was so loud that it echoed through the clearing. Casey shouted for everyone to get in the tent. They dove inside, zipping the tent flap shut. The thin nylon walls suddenly felt like paper. The fire outside crackled weakly, casting flickering shadows across the tent. Then something brushed against the tent fabric. A slow, deliberate drag of claws long enough to leave grooves in the nylon. Brianna covered her mouth to keep from screaming. Another creature circled the tent, its footsteps heavy and measured, predatory. The ground vibrated with each step. Then a low growl rolled through the clearing, deep enough to rattle the tent poles. Tyler whispered, "They're surrounding us." Then the first impact hit. Something slammed in the side of the tent so hard that the entire structure buckled inward. The poles bent, the fabric stretched. Brianna screamed as the wall collapsed against her shoulder. Another impact, this time from the opposite side. The creatures were hitting the tent in coordinated bursts, collapsing it section by section, forcing the humans into the center like prey being herded. Casey shouted, "We have to run." They scrambled for the zipper, but before they could open it, a massive shadow fell across the entrance. Something pressed down on the flap from the outside, slowly, deliberately pinning it shut. Nate whispered, "It's right there." The creature exhaled a deep, rumbling breath that shook the nylon. Then the scream erupted again, so close it felt like it was inside the tent with him. That was enough. Casey kicked the opposite wall, tearing the fabric. They spilled out into the clearing barefoot, sprinting toward the trailhead. Behind them, the creatures exploded into motion. Footsteps pounding the earth, branches snapping, growls echoing through the trees. The campers ran like their lives depended on it, because they did. The creatures chased them all the way to the trailhead, stopping only when the forest thinned and the moonlight grew stronger. When the campers returned the next morning with the ranger, the tent was shredded, vertical slashes 8 feet off the ground, poles bent like twigs. The ranger stared at the damage for a long time. Then he looked at him and told him it was probably coyotes, but his hands were shaking.
Yeah. He was saying coyotes, but he didn't believe it any more than they did.
So that's eerily similar to the other camping story.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And these things had them right where they wanted them.
Oh, yeah. Do you think they were trying to trap them in that tent so they'd be easier to contain? Or do you think that was a scare tactic?
I don't know.
And the two camping stories, let me throw this one in there real quick to further confuse and confusticate you fellas. The other two camping stories, they've both fled their tent barefoot and basically just ran for their lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that not sound eerily similar to the Dyatlov Pass incident?
I was thinking the same thing.
Exactly what I was
tent
thinking.
Open from the inside. Well, you know, I've got conflicting opinions on it. With the fact that it stepped on the flap, it basically guaranteed they couldn't get out that way. I would think that it would probably be able to figure out, because it kind of tested the fabric, know that it was thin enough that the food could get away. But I mean, they could have possibly, just decided the three of them would be contained nicely in that tent. They'd had themselves a backwoods burrito.
Yeah. Or like Jason Voorhees, pick the whole thing up, beat it against a tree.
Tenderizing.
Yeah.
Likes his people in sleeping bags are the soft tacos of the cryptid world.
And they're already marinated in that cheap whiskey. Of course, I started off the story rooting for the creatures because they were drinking cheap whiskey. But,
yeah, if you're going to drink whiskey, at least drink good whiskey.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I always drink good whiskey. You never know when your last drink may be something that you feed as cat squatch.
Yeah.
You notice that this isn't the only time they appeared in groups of 3.
Yeah. Well, and three would be the minimum number that they would need to completely pin them to one position.
Well, 1 male and 2 females would be a small pride.
Well, that too. But if you think about it, one person one hunter gets stuck just simply chasing them around, kind of like a herding dog. You get 2, you can chase them into a line, focusing in the one direction, one dimension. You get 3, you've triangulated them, and they're stuck in one place, one point.
Unless there's a terrain feature that helps.
Like in this story where they were herding the runners into the saddle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or the one where the dude was in the ravine.
Just the overall feeling I get from that story, I think to quote Lord of the Rings, looks like meat's back on the menu, boys. I think they were legitimately being hunted.
Absolutely. I think the critters might have made a mistake and expecting that the structural integrity of that nylon was more than it was.
And I'm trying to look at this skeptically, but all the details, the really good details in this, are not easy to explain. I mean, you can't say, oh, they had a problem with a mountain lion, or oh, they had a problem with wolves, or they had a problem with a bobcat or a cougar. These aren't cougar behaviors, especially on two legs.
Well, and when they took off running, in a straight line, any kind of a cat that was hunting would have chased him down. The worst thing you can do with a mountain lion is turn your back on it and run.
Exactly.
Worst thing you can do with any predators run.
Well, that's
true. It kicks in that predator prey response.
Yeah.
And this I don't think they were just trying to scare these kids. I think this was just basically a hunt.
Yeah, it was a failed hunt.
They didn't count on him coming out the back of the tent.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things that make me think maybe it was scare tactics, but overall, I think I'm leaning towards it was predation.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with the ranger's reaction, the ranger clearly had seen that before.
Yeah, this one seems the most predatory of the ones we've read so far, at least to me.
And the thing with mountain lions are solitary. The only big cat species that hunts in packs that we know of are lions. Tigers, mountain lions, panthers, jaguars, all those big cats are solitary hunters. Lions are the only big cats that hunt in packs.
And the only time a mountain lion hunts in a group is it's a female with kittens.
Right.
Right.
So they're solitary either. Bobcats are solitary. So the behavior is not consistent with any big cat we have in the Ozarks. Yeah, this one, especially the way the ranger reacted. That ranger clearly knew something was up. First saying it's coyotes, but they're seeing his hand shaking. I'm willing to bet he's found campsites like that before, and maybe even bodies.
Yeah,
because that area is part of the national forests. So any bodies found would not be reported to local law enforcement; they'd be reported federally.
Yep. Department of the Interior.
Yes. Yep. Exactly right.
So it would fall under the missing 411 categories.
Yes.
William says wildlife behavior has changed lately for some reason. I've noticed that too. I think part of that has to do with what we talked about, our theory with COVID, how people stayed out of the wilderness for so long that they started reclaiming old territory. But part of it is also their behavior is changing based on encroachment.
Mm-hmm.
You ready for the next story?
Go ahead.
All right, I'll take this one. This one's would happen in 2017. That's just 5 years ago, folks. And this was a trail runner. In the spring of 2017, a trail runner named Melissa Hart was training for her first ultra marathon. She loved the Drury Mincy trails because they were brutal. Steep climbs, rocky descents, and long stretches where you could go miles without seeing another person. She started her run just after sunrise. The air was cool and sharp, the forest still waking up. Her shoes crunched over the gravel as she climbed the ridge trail, her breath steady, her pace smooth. Halfway up the ridge, she heard something behind her. Not a twig snap, not a rustle, not an animal. Footsteps. Heavy ones, rhythmic, deliberate. She slowed, the footsteps slowed. She sped up, they sped up. Melissa frowned, glancing over her shoulder, but the trail behind her was empty. Just a long corridor of trees and morning light. So she kept running. But footsteps kept pace. At first she told herself it was just an echo. The ridge walls could bounce sounds in weird ways. But then she heard something else, too. Breathing. Not her own, not even human. A deep, rolling exhale that matched her stride perfectly. She stopped dead in the trail. The breathing stopped, and the forest went dead still. Melissa's heart hammered in her chest. She turned slowly, scanning the trees. Nothing moves. No birds, no squirrels, no wind. Then she heard it. A low, rumbling growl, so soft she felt it more than she heard it. It vibrated through the ground, through her shoes, through her bones. She took a step backward, and something stepped forward. Not a deer, not a bear, something heavier and something on 2 legs. She couldn't see it, but she could hear it, each footfall landing with weight that made the dirt tremble. Melissa turned and ran. She sprinted down the trail, her breath ragged, her legs burning. Behind her, the creature exploded into motion, its footsteps pounding the earth, closing the distance with terrifying speed. It wasn't running like a human. It wasn't running like an animal. It was running like something built for pursuit. Melissa risked a glance over her shoulder. That's when she saw it. A shape, tall, lean, cat-like, bursting through the brush on her left. It moved with impossible fluidity, weaving between trees without slowing down, its long tail whipping behind it like a rudder. It wasn't chasing her, it was herding her. She veered right, trying to cut toward the lower trail, but the creature matched her instantly, shifting its path to intercept. She could hear its breath now, deep, steady, and controlled. It wasn't winded, it wasn't even struggling, it was just pacing her. She pushed harder, her lungs screaming, her vision starting to blur. The trail curved sharply, and she nearly lost her footing on the loose gravel. Behind her, the creature let out a sound, a short, sharp chuff that sent a jolt of terror through her spine. It was close. Too close. She burst out of the tree line into the trailhead clearing, stumbling to a stop near her car. She spun around expecting the creature to follow, but it didn't. The forest behind her was dead still, silent, watching. She fumbled for her car keys, hands shaking so badly she dropped them twice. She dove into the car, locked the doors, and sat there gasping, staring at the trail. Nothing emerged, but she knew it was there, just inside the trees, just out of sight, waiting. She never ran Drury Mincy again.
Don't blame her.
Hell no.
That would be a stiff no for me, thank you.
Well, you said it was matching her stride. How many times we've heard people say they were paced out of the woods?
I've been paced out of the woods many times.
We both got paced out of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it happened to those folks down at, oh, hell. I'm drawing a complete blank now. You were there with your friend John in those.
Yeah, Johnny. Yeah, up in off Highway 11 here in Greenville County.
Well, no, I was thinking of,
Are you talking about an LBL?
yes, thank you, LBL. I literally just had a stroke. Yeah, I was thinking LBL. I'm like those folks were talking about being paced out. You know, they turned back, they were paced out, and then that one guy and his daughter didn't seem to come out, at least not initially.
Yeah.
Wyatt,
Yeah,
if I miss my guess, I think you're only about 30 minutes from Drury Mincy. You're closer than I am.
Well, this would definitely sounds the most cat-like of the ones we discussed so far.
At matching her stride, that just sticks with me. Because how many times have we heard people say, you know, not only does it happen to us, but it happened to House. It's happened to lots of people. Said, I started to go to my favorite fishing spot, heard something pacing me, so I decided to get out of there, and it paced me all the way back to my car. How many times does that happen? You know, that's been reported as Bigfoot behavior, but it could be, you know, the behavior of anything like this.
Well, it's, you know,
I think that's just typical predator behavior anyway.
I think it was trying to cut her off until she changed course.
It's neat. It stopped at the clearing. Why the clearing? Didn't want to be seen?
Or there were other people. They may have learned that coming out there where all those cars are gets it shot at.
Fair enough.
William's right. That definitely shows intelligence.
Yep.
Miss Lene, she says, DA, how close was the cabin we rented? 15 minutes? You were about, where you rented your cabin, Miss Lene, you were about 5 minutes from Combs Ferry, but you were only about 15 minutes away from Drury Mincy. Wyatt, from my house to the campground, the remaining campground at Drury Mincy, it's not open anymore, but from my house to that campground is like an hour and 10 minutes. Oh, so we're pretty close to the same distance from it, Wyatt. Just sorry, I've had a kind of a cold this week and it's starting to break up. You can probably hear it in my voice. I still kind of got a gravelly voice.
Yeah, it works for the narrative.
Yeah. K Bauer says, DA, if Bigfoot or Dogman is said to be bear, what is a cryptid cat said to be? Overweight house cat. Yeah, mountain lion that learned to walk on two legs.
It ain't the Pink Panther.
Yeah, boo-doo, doo-doo, 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 doo-doo. All right, so at first, when she heard it following her, that could have been a normal animal. I'm right there. The skeptic in me still wants to say, okay, she was being followed by something, maybe even a mountain lion. But when she saw it, that changes everything because it was on two legs, and it showed intelligence, not only pacing her but trying to cut her off. I think if she hadn't been in the shape that she was in, being training for an ultra marathon, she was in damn good shape. If it had been me or you, Robbie, we'd have had to make a stand because my big butt ain't running that far.
Nope.
Me neither. Well,
And we're going to be doing what they call the ranger walk, walking backwards with while two guys reload and one guy shoots.
Well, and it was pacing her on two legs.
Right.
What could it have done if it went down on four?
Ooh, yeah, it probably could have caught her.
Oh, easily.
So, any of these, do you guys think these were actual predation then? Or, because clearly they're faster than us.
I definitely think some of them for sure were, but I think some of them were probably just territorial.
I'm still thinking this
So,
one's
what about
predation.
this one? This one seems like predation to me.
Yeah, it underestimated her fitness.
Right.
And
Probably most of the hikers that saw out there were, overweight guys in Birkenstocks that weren't going to put up much of a distance challenge.
Well,
And big cats are sprinters, not long distance runners.
yeah, and as well that all big predators evaluate that effort versus reward.
Yeah, the cost benefit analysis.
Is the effort that I'm going to put out worth the reward that I'm going to get for whatever I'm facing?
Well, this one's discovering that this one's pretty lean and she's fast. Is she worth is the meat she got worth the effort we're putting into it?
I don't think this was a random encounter. I think it was out there looking for something, and she just happened to come along. She either interrupted her hunt or she was the hunt. So what do you guys think? Including y'all in the chat. What do you guys think? Do you think she was on the menu? Do you think it was just playing with her? I personally think that she was just in better shape than it anticipated, and she managed to get back to her car. But like Steve says, I'm kind of surprised it stopped at the clearing unless there were other people there.
Yeah.
William Nighthawk says something with intelligence could easily make a dead-end barrier trap to funnel humans into during a hunt. True, but she changed course. She veered off trail and headed for the lower trail. I think that might have been her saving grace. Nick Morrow says, it's daytime and didn't want to be seen. Make it a target to be hunted. Want someone or a group of people have hunted them in the past and learned to stay hidden. I think that's the case with a lot of cryptids. It's learned that if it gets seen by a group of people, then people with bang sticks come out and start hunting it. I think once she reached a certain point, it's like, nope, not going out there.
Yeah, it could very well have a limit. Like if prey gets to this spot right here.
I agree with William. I think changing course is what saved her life.
Yeah.
Miss
once
Lene says we got 15 minutes. Well, Miss Lene, we're a long way from done. So we're going to be going past the 2-hour mark. So at 5 till we'll stop for a commercial break because we still got a lot of stuff to cover. Hold on. Which one was that? What encounter was that?
It was number 6.
It was number 6.
Yep, we just finished number 6.
Okay, we got 3 more. We've got 3 more to go over.
Okay. Nine encounters, 3 people. We got the 3 idiots, no waiting.
That's right. I'm gonna go with Nighthawk there. I think the only thing saved her life was changing directions. Makes you wonder if people have not just vanished out there, and it just doesn't make the news, or it doesn't make local law enforcement because it's national park.
Right.
Arkansas Hog Hunter says, "Oh no, I got that tune in my head as you speak of creature approaching." But on another note, Kitty will be at least 1445. Slugs heavier becomes my... Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm dumping an extended mag.
You want to do the giveaways before we start the next one?
Yeah, let's do that.
It's a good time.
We let me bring that up. I have to open up Chrome to do it in because I've got to get into the actual dashboard. So, how about we give away some memberships? What do y'all think?
Let's do
Sounds
it.
like a good one to me.
All righty. Okie doke. So, we're going to give away 5 memberships. Okay, here we go. Here's the first 5. Robbie, you want to watch the chat and read off who wins?
I'll see if I can.
Here they come.
Okay, we've got Bigfoot Thetas, Reese 537, Derek Buckles, Dale 3827. I think that's it.
Should have given out 5.
Hold on. Make sure I miss it. Oh, Carnelsworth 7752.
Sweet.
Sorry,
You know what?
Roll past that one.
Let's do that again. Let's give away 5 more. All right, folks, we're giving away 5 more memberships. Here we go.
Awakened 1447. Danny Rick 322.
Sword and Shield of YHUH
3980 and Big Sky Johnny M.
Awesome. Well, congrats to everybody that won a membership. We've got about 5 minutes before we got to make another commercial break. So I don't know if that's enough time to start the next encounter. Congratulations to everybody that won one of the memberships. Folks, what do you guys think about these stories up to this point? Similarities, comments, questions? Robin Grogan says in Colorado, a woman was found dead on the trail. I'm out where I was near her. The rangers has euthanized 2 mountain lions, and then mountain lions sent them off to see if they have any human DNA in them. Makes you wonder. I mean, it very well could be. Wyatt says they're following a pattern. I definitely agree. They are following a pattern. Lima Mike Foxtrot says, well, then let's ask ourselves this basic question. Are they all opportunistic hunters, or are there some non-lethal ones? Are we dead if they have a meal, period? It's a good question.
Yeah. At what point will the cat quit playing with its food?
Right. Moonchild says, I don't understand why these things give up the prey. Maybe at some of those points they were trying to get them out of the area, but I think in at least those last two, they just managed to get out of the area, or past a point they were willing to chase. Miss Lene says, how long have these feline sightings been going on? At least the last 50 years.
Nope. First one we read was from 1978. So
Yeah, so at least the last 50 years, probably even longer. But the source I spoke to said that he only knew of things going back to about 78.
In kind of a runaround way, I think Kay Bowers made an interesting point. Yeah, you just clicked on it. There are some animals that like the chase just because of what the fear puts into the meat.
Yeah.
Maybe this thing was doing that.
When you scare your prey, that the meat gets full of blood.
Yeah, it's like maybe they got away before it was done preparing the meal.
I can check, Nick. I can ask around. I know some guys. I know a couple of guys that work that county, so I'll reach out to some of the guys I know that work Taney County and see what I can find out. They may or may not tell me anything, or they may or may not know. But I do know a few guys that work for Taney County, so I'll reach out to them and see what I can find out. William Nighthawk says, if you take into account legends and ancient history, they've been here for a long while. Exactly.
I'm glad
We
I
are
didn't
just
know
about-
stuff back when I was in Boy Scouts and camping.
Yeah, no kidding. We are just about to the point where we're going to take another quick commercial break. We're about a minute and a half out. Anyone else got any questions or comments? Joshua Dalton says, DA, when were the dams built in that area? That's a good question. I believe Table Rock Dam was built in the 50s. Let me look that up. I will consult the Googles. As Robbie, I owe Robbie a quarter. 1954 was when it was built. It was completed in 1958, and I'm going to look at the dam at Taney Como. Taney Como was built 1911.
Jeez.
So Taney Como's been there a lot longer. And the last one I'll check is also in that area, is Bull Shoals.
Did you see what Rodney?
Bull Shoals was started in 1947, finished in 51.
Did you see Rodney's comment?
No, I was looking all that up. What'd Rodney say?
He just listened to that noise. He went back and listened to it. With headphones. You see his comment? I can't click on it because we don't have that.
Let me find it.
I just listened to that noise on headphones with the volume up loud. It sounds like the noise that people keep hearing around the country and don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but it freaked the dogs in the neighborhood out. I'm still not seeing that comment.
It's right under Wyatt's comment. It says 1957.
Oh, okay, there it is. Yeah, I don't know what that was. It's not a noise I've heard before. But it's weird that we got it live.
Well, it's very low frequency, too.
Oh, yeah. That's why I thought it was a growl at first. Oh, it's time to pay some bills, folks. Okay. This is an awesome time for y'all to go refill your drinks, top off your coffee, stretch your legs in just a minute. We'll be back in about 5 minutes, and we will be bringing you more information from the strange occurrences down in Drury, Mincy. So we'll be right back.
Hey everybody, this is Kerry Pocket Doc Davis from Dark Angel Medical, and you are listening to DA Ex Machina with DA Roberts. You may recognize me or some of my products from Dark Angel Medical in some of the Apex Predator, Lakeview Man, and Wild Hunt books, and you can get those products at www.darkangelmedical.com, along with training classes on how to use those products and save a life. Shoot us an email at info@darkangelmedical.com and be the difference.
The Unex Network presents a health and wellness spiritually based brand of hemp-derived CBD products made by Hopewell Farm in Harrogate, Tennessee. We apply our Cathara energy work with all of our plants and products. Our products made in small batches with only 2 ingredients of pure hemp, full-spectrum crude oil, and coconut-derived MCT oil. Third-party lab tested for potency and legal THC levels with 6 strengths of 1 ounce oil to choose from. Know what you're buying and get what you pay for from Hopewell Farm. Applied directly to a specific area, Hopewell Farm topical salve in 1 ounce and ½ ounce sizes made with pure hemp crude oil, comfrey extract, and all natural ingredients. Find the Hopewell Farm link and coupon code on the Unex Network website at unexnetwork.com. That's unexnetwork.com. The new book, How to Research a Haunted House by paranormal investigator Margie Kay and professional researcher Violet Wisdom, is now available from Unex Media. This one-of-a-kind book explains how to do research on a house with uncommon methods and resources used by historic home researchers, and how to determine who may be doing the haunting and why. How to research a haunted house can be used by homeowners, renters, investors, and it should be in the library of all professional paranormal investigators. Get this unique book at unexmedia.com or amazon.com. That's unexmedia.com or amazon.com.
And we are back, folks. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We're going to be jumping right back into this. We've still got 3 more interesting stories to share with y'all, and I think you guys are going to enjoy these just as much as we do. So far, we've talked about some very interesting tales. Folks have actually had eyewitness sightings and been either actively hunted or actively chased out of Drury, Mincy. And things are going to start kind of ratcheting up here. When you look at all of these stories over the period of years, it seems to me like they're becoming more aggressive. They started out basically just scaring people with screams, and then started chasing people out. Well, now we're going to get into a few more where it comes even closer and even more apparent that they don't necessarily like us out there. Robbie, do you want to pick up with number 7?
Encounter number 7 in 2018, the Ridge Watcher. The Catman Between the Pines. In the fall of 2018, a trail runner named Sarah Whitlock was training for a half marathon. She preferred the ridge trails in Drury, Mincy because they were quiet, too quiet, her friend said. But Sarah liked the solitude. She liked feeling of being alone with her breath and her heartbeat and the steady rhythm of her feet on the dirt. It was late afternoon when she started her run, the sun sinking low and painting the treetops gold. The air was crisp, the forest was alive, with the rustle of leaves and the distant calls of birds settling in for the night. Halfway along the ridge, The woods went silent. Sarah slowed, frowning. She'd run this trail dozens of times. She knew its sounds, its moods, but this wasn't normal. She took a few more steps, her breath loud in the sudden stillness. Then she saw it. At first, she thought it was a person standing between two pines about 40 yards ahead, tall, still watching her. but the proportions were all wrong. The shoulders were too broad, the arms were too long, the posture too fluid, and behind it, a tail. Long, thick, swaying slowly from side to side like a metronome. Sarah froze. The creature didn't move, didn't flinch, and didn't try to hide. It simply tilted its head, studying her with an intelligence that made her stomach drop. The sunlight caught its eyes, amber and reflective, unmistakably feline. Not the eyes of a man, not the eyes of a bear, but something else. Something that should not exist. Sarah's breath hitched. She took a step backwards. The creature took a step forwards. Not fast, not aggressive, just deliberate. A warning? A line drawn in the dirt? Sarah whispered, "Oh, God." The creature exhaled a deep rolling chuff that vibrated through the air. It wasn't a growl, and it wasn't a roar. It was the sound that big cats make when they're curious, or when they're deciding whether or not something is worth the effort. Sarah took another step back. The creature's tail flicked once, sharp but controlled. Then it straightened to its full height, 7 feet, maybe more, muscles rippling beneath the short, dense fur. Hands with long, curved claws that caught the fading light. Sarah's legs finally remembered how to move. She turned and ran. Not a sprint, not a panic scramble. Controlled, steady run, the kind you do when you know that if you fall, you won't get back up. Behind her, the creature didn't chase, but she heard it move. A single step, then another, and then silence. Sarah didn't look back and didn't slow down. She didn't breathe until she reached the trailhead. When she finally turned, the ridge was empty. The pines stood still. The forest was quiet. But she knew it was still there, watching and waiting, letting her go. Not because it was afraid, but because it wanted her to know exactly how close she had come. Sarah never ran Drury Mincy again.
That was definitely territorial.
Yep.
It could have had her.
And if she'd probably kept going forwards, if she hadn't slowed down and stopped to take in her surroundings, because
if she hadn't taken the warning, it might have done more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas Hog Hunter Dan says, Arkansas Hog Hunter Dan says, I just double checked the maps and I'm located in the middle of all the areas we've been discussing. Well, dude, keep your doors locked and your gun handy.
See, I'm happy I live in the middle of town on the second floor.
Yeah, if it's tapping on your window, it's big.
Yeah. Well, where my bedroom is, I'm at the high end of the building anyway. You know, if I go out my window, it's a good 20-foot drop in a splat.
Well, it definitely exhibited cat behavior. That tail flick, I've seen tigers do that. I've seen mountain lions do that. Hell, I've seen house cats do that.
See, I've got a question for the chat. I've owned dogs. I've never had pet cats. My dogs, well, when they're interested and they're kind of eyeing something up, they'll do that head tilt thing. Do cats do the same thing like house cats?
Robbie's got a cat. What do you think, bud?
That's definitely feline behavior.
You know,
That tail flick, swish.
The tail flick I get absolutely, but the head tilt. I keep picturing, shepherds, doing the, trying to figure things out. Even my dogs do that.
Now I've seen my cat and other cats I've had. I've seen them do that single. Dogs are usually back and forth like that, but that.
One thing that bothers me about all of these, when they step out into the trail and let you see it completely, that means they've got no fear of you.
Mm-hmm.
None.
Yep. It reminds me of the Predator in the original Predator film when he decloaks and he just kind of tilts his head. It's like, bring it.
Yeah. Yeah, when they're stepping out where you can completely see them, they're not scared of you. Not in one way, shape, or form.
And usually when they lock in, it's that head goes from here to, and
Yep.
them eyes get bigger.
Yeah, get both eyes on it. You know, from looking at your pictures there, William, I was still getting the impression it was a half cat, half dog. Um, heavier like a dog, moved like a cat.
If you've ever watched a cat hunt, that is
That tail
truly,
flick.
but that's truly just, it is amazing. And I mean, it's just truly one of the coolest things in nature to watch any cat, house cat, big cats, if you've seen them on TV, or just what they do and how they do it. They're so purpose built for what they do.
I saw a video of a tiger stalking prey, and it like got all the way down, like crouched real low, and its ears laid back, and that tail was just going. And when that gazelle got to, whatever it was some sort of deer species got too close, bang! It was right on it. So maybe they sensed that the trap was about to spring and stopped short of the trap, and then it stepped out. Yep. Because they'd be ambush predators like any other big cat. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think?
I mean, everything that we read that's described is feline behavior.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because we need one more scary thing in the woods around here.
Yeah, no kidding. Isn't the Ozarks? It's not like we didn't have enough.
Still worried that the meth heads were the worst part of it.
Yeah. Not so sure anymore. Mm-mm. Yeah, I think if she'd have kept running instead of stopping, I think she'd have probably ran into the trap. But because she didn't, it was trying to figure out what, okay, why this one's different. Why it didn't run into the trap like a deer would. This one's thinking what's going on, and at that point it stepped out, was trying to figure out what was going on, like studying her, like, okay, you're not normal. You're not like normal prey.
Mm-hmm. And two, if they're opportunistic, more than likely we're not on the menu, but if we stumble in, they're going to take the opportunity. But they may not actively hunt us because we don't satisfy what they need.
Right. Generally, humans aren't on the menu as a first option.
No.
Well, truthfully, I mean, we are as far from being organic as anything else could be with all the preservatives and stuff that we eat.
Well, not only that, animals can smell like cancer and things like that. So I can't imagine humans with our crazy diets with all the preservatives and colognes and deodorants. I can't imagine we smell much like an enticing meal. So we probably got to be one that's either sick, wounded, or unable to hunt for some reason, old, would start taking on humans. But then again, they are opportunistic. If you stumble into their path, they're like, yeah, what the heck? Let's see how this thing tastes.
Notice that they were interested in these runners.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be normal for them to pick out the faster prey, but the healthier prey.
And younger kids, the 20-year-olds, things like that.
Mm-hmm. People that made noise.
Well, I was just thinking things that are healthier. A middle-aged diabetic who eats too much fat would probably be pretty safe compared to a human in their prime, an athlete.
Yeah, yeah. But then again, they might look at me and think it's Wagyu. It's Wagyu human. Look at the marbling on that fat guy. What? That's some prime rib of people right there.
I'm just pre-marinated, that's all.
That's right. It's got that good Wagyu marbling. In4 UPD says, I guess they could hunt for sport. That's entirely possible, too.
Well, that's true. They want the healthy ones to put up the challenge.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they've speculated that Gustav, that crocodile,
Mhm.
they've speculated that a good number of his kills were not consumed, that he was just
Killing them to kill them.
Yeah, just killing people just to kill them.
Kind of like the lions of Savo.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The lines of Savo.
They weren't eating them. They were just killing them.
Yep. Yep. It was literally because of screw you.
W. Leonard Office has a great comment. I don't like bologna, but I'll eat it if I'm hungry enough. So we're the bologna selection to the wild animals. Got to get that rind off.
Bologna of the cryptid diet.
or the TV dinners.
Hot dogs.
Yeah, that's it. We're the hot dogs of the cryptid world. That's
hot
bad.
dogs and ramen. Yeah.
Little Patty says they could hunt for training from the mom. That's true. She could be teaching them how to hunt by stalking these two-legged idiots that are out there. Arkansas Hog Hunter Dan says, always watch the tail. That's the attitude monitor. The more it flicks, the more agitated, the more determined they are on their task. Good to know.
It's like a dog. Watch the dog's ears.
Ms. Lonnie says we're tofu.
But there are certain animal species that when they're younger, they will hunt one type of food that they only eat when they're small enough. But once they hit the adult stage, they shift to a totally different food. So maybe it is something like that. We're what they're training on because we're what they can catch at certain ages.
Or what they go back to when they get too old to chase down a deer.
Mm-hmm. True.
Yeah, we're the always save of the grocery aisle. the white generic box. Like, yeah, I'll eat it, but there's all these other choices.
Yeah, we're spam stuff posing as meat.
I love it.
So yeah, I would definitely say, this was a case where it clearly could have killed her, especially if she'd have kept running. If she hadn't stopped when she did, I think she'd have walked right into an ambush.
I think so.
Robbie, your thoughts?
Yeah, I 100% believe that her stopping and her situational awareness, as I like to preach and point out, she had very good situational awareness. She'd run that trail many times and knew the area, knew how it sounded, and knew something was off. And she listened to her gut reaction, her gut instinct, and it's probably what saved her life, like William pointed out earlier, with the woman that turned and didn't keep running straight, decided to run the other way. This one, by stopping and taking note of what was going on, taking stock of her surroundings and saying, probably saved her life.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that.
So the moral of this, if you're out in the woods in the Ozarks, follow your gut.
Right. Now, these last two stories are kind of what we've covered before, but with more detail than we had before. So these are the stories that are going to get interesting. Steve, you want to do the next one and I'll do the last one?
Absolutely. This one is called The Night the Cats Stood Up. In early 2025, that's a little too close for comfort.
Yeah, it was earlier last year.
In early 2025, 4 teenagers, Evan, Jace, Mariah, and Tyler, hiked into a remote section of Drury, Mincy to check on an illegal marijuana grow they've been tending for months. They went at dusk, thinking the fading light would hide them from rangers. They were wrong. The woods felt off the moment they stepped off the main trail. The air was heavy, thick, almost electric. Even the insects seemed muted, the usual chorus replaced by an uneasy quiet. Mariah whispered, "Do you guys feel that?" Jace laughed it off, but Evan didn't. He kept glancing over his shoulder, sensing movement in the trees. Something was watching them, something big. They reached the grow site, a small clearing hidden behind a wall of brush, and froze. The plants were shredded. Not trampled, not eaten, shredded. Long vertical slashes ran through the stalks, clean and deliberate, like something had walked through the crop and torn it apart just to make a point. Tyler whispered, "What the hell did that?" Before anyone could answer, the woods went silent. Then they heard it. A low, rumbling growl, deep enough to vibrate the ground beneath her feet. It came from the tree line behind them. Then another growl answered from the left, and a third from the right. 3 creatures, 3 angles, closing in. Evan raised his flashlight and shined it towards the trees. It's when they saw the first one. It stepped out of the shadows like it had been waiting for the cue. Tall, broad, upright, 7 feet at least. Muscles rippling beneath the short, dense fur. A long tail swaying behind it. Eyes glowing amber in the beam. Mariah screamed. The creature didn't flinch. It didn't blink. It didn't hesitate. It charged. The teens bolted, sprinting through the brush, branches tearing at their clothes. Behind them, the creature crashed through the undergrowth with terrifying speed. Faster than any human. Faster than any animal they'd ever heard. Another creature burst from the left, cutting them off. A third from the right. They weren't chasing. They were herding. Tyler tripped and Evan grabbed him just as one of the creatures lunged. Its claws raking the dirt inches from Tyler's foot. The teens screamed and ran harder, adrenaline drowning out the pain of branches whipping their faces. They broke through the brush and stumbled onto a service road, just as a ranger truck rounded the bend. The teens waved frantically, screaming for help. The ranger, Officer Daniel Hargrove, slammed on the brakes, jumped out and shouted, "What's chasing you?" Before they could answer, the first creature stepped out of the trees. Hargrove froze. The creature stood in the middle of the road, chest heaving, breath steaming in the cold air. It was massive, easily 7.5 feet tall, shoulders as wide as a doorway, claws glinting in the fading light. Hargrove reached for his sidearm. The creature took a step forward, then another. Then it roared, a sound so deep and powerful it shook the leaves from the trees. Hargrove fired a warning shot in the air. The creature didn't flinch. It didn't even blink. Instead, it lowered its head and charged. Hargrove shouted, "Get in the truck." The teens dove into the back seat as the creature closed the distance in seconds. Hargrove jumped behind the wheel, slammed the door, and floored it. The truck fishtailed, gravel spraying everywhere. The creature hit the tailgate with enough force to dent the metal. The truck lurched forward, tires screaming, engine roaring. The creature chased him for nearly 100 yards before peeling off into the trees, its roar echoing through the forest. Hargrove didn't stop driving until they reached the ranger station. The teens were hysterical. Hargrove was pale. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, Hargrove said the only thing he could manage. "I saw it. I saw all of it." And that was the moment the Drury Mincy predator stopped being a rumor.
Well, one thing I want to point out is all of the names in all of these stories are made up. I didn't reuse any real names. So if you're thinking about Googling this officer, he doesn't exist because I changed all the names. I didn't have a way to contact any of these people to get permission to use their stories. So I changed the names. And a lot of them probably wouldn't want to talk about it anyway. But just to protect people's identities, all of the names in these stories have been changed.
Well, if it's the law enforcement, they want to be thought they're some kind of a bloody nutter anyway.
Exactly. This was a definite charge, and it was trying to get that kid.
Oh, it definitely had a taste for pothead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these things were coming to kill and damage the truck.
Yeah. Well, and one thing I'm struggling with here is this feline, or it's so feline-like in these descriptions, but in every description, its claws are out.
Mm-hmm.
That just seems weird. You think a feline would have them retracted?
Maybe, unless it was, had the claws out, preparing to attack.
It was showing them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
Well, and N4 UPD stated it. The big common denominator here is 3. Seems like there's.
So we ought to plan on seeing at least 3.
Except for one story, that one where the guy went up the bank. But now he only saw 2. There could have been a third one that he just didn't see.
Right.
He only reported 2. But every other clear eyewitness report has 3.
My guess is if we see 1, be looking on the sides for the other 2.
Yeah. What was it that Nick Valenti once said about the dog man? He goes, "You see one of them, you're not seeing the other 2 that are still watching."
Right. That's what he told us about Joe Bald. He said from the eye shine of that video we sent to him, he said there was at least 4 or 5 other ones watching us. Dr. Sharp Rothstein says cheetah claws are semi-retractable. Nick Morris says big cats do not retract their claws. The only big cat that can retract its claws is the cheetah.
Oh, there you go. Stand corrected. That's why we need the chat.
Exactly. I'm not any kind of expert on big cats. And again, folks, we don't claim to be experts. We're sharing these stories and these encounters with you guys to let you guys form your own opinions. We're definitely going to give you our opinions, but that doesn't mean they're fact. Our opinions are just that, opinions. No better or no worse than anything y'all come up with, because again, we are not experts and we do not present ourselves as such.
Well, like you said, there is no such thing as an expert in cryptozoology.
Exactly.
It's the study of the hidden or the unknown. How can you be an expert on something you can't see and can't know?
Miss Lene says maybe the big kitty got a contact high, then got the munchies.
I was thinking of the catnip with the mountain lion and the catnip.
You just find it laying in the middle of the field going.
According to BBC Science, just like house cats, most wild cats keep their claws safely tucked in when they're not in use, and all big cats technically have retractable claws. That's BBC Science. That's not Google AI or Google or anything like that. That is actual BBC Science page.
Yeah, either way, the claws were out. They were described as being out.
And it says here about cheetahs, says cheetahs are sometimes referred to as big cats, and they have semi-retractable claws that look more like dog's claws than cat claws. And the reason their claws are that way is because of their speed.
Well,
that's
here's
why
the thing.
they're different than other cats.
If you're looking at cat's paws like that, there's a lot of room to retract claws. But if you got fingers out there, there's no room to retract claws into.
Well, that's true. Different geometry.
So if they've got morphology with hands, I don't think the claws can retract. It wouldn't be room.
I like Ledley's anarchist statement here. Take a giant cardboard box and see if they jump in. When we go down there, I'm bringing a
hey Josh,
bringing a big like refrigerator box, an appliance box, and I'm gonna get a hold of a couple of ne'er-do-well friends and make sure I got a bag of weed or something to throw out behind me when they.
I'm telling you, we got to stock up on catnip toys. We go to Drury Mincy.
There you go. Fill a Kong with catnip.
Yeah, start chucking them over your shoulders. You're running for the car.
Seriously, it's like dropping grenades as you head back to your extraction point. Love it. That's too funny.
Well, I definitely think these things wanted those kids, and if that ranger hadn't have been there, it would have got them because they had nowhere to go.
No. Well, they should have been growing a cultivar that makes them a little less aggressive.
So if this was just some stoner kids reporting this, at that point it loses some credibility. But the ranger saw it.
Right. The
ranger saw it and fired his weapon as warning, which it didn't flinch. It charged.
Well, and
so that says to me it's heard firearms before and it wasn't impressed.
Well, and anybody who's ever been in law enforcement knows that you don't discharge your weapon unless you have a damn good reason to do it.
Exactly.
And most agencies don't condone warning shots anyway.
Nope. Right. Well, when you're dealing with animals, that might be a different case, though. You can frighten off an animal with a gunshot. I wouldn't try to scare off a meth head with one, but when you're dealing with animals, especially aggressive animals, you might be able to de-escalate by scaring the crap out of them. Arkansas Hog Hunter Dan says, makes one wonder if perhaps he was also the officer that had the shaky hands in the other incident. That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Well, it makes his comment, if he was the same guy, had the shaky hands earlier, but then at the end of this, I saw it. I saw all of it, as if now I saw it.
Now I believe you. Now I believe it.
Right.
So this clearly was not just a territorial thing with them planting a grow out there in the trees. This thing was clearly pissed off, and it wanted them. They got real lucky because when that one kid stumbled, he almost got.
Yeah.
And I truly believe if the ranger truck hadn't pulled up when it did, they probably would not have. We would not have heard this story. There'd just been found an abandoned car out in Drury, Mincy.
Right. And they would have been explained away.
Yeah, they went out hiking, got lost. We'll find them eventually.
Thanks, Larry. It's nice to be back with y'all. I miss you, miscreants, when I'm not here.
Lima Mike Foxtrot says the military is trained to do warning shots more than law enforcement, and that's weird. Yeah, that is kind of odd that the military would give more warning shots than cops. But generally, we in law enforcement, we don't even draw our weapon until there's a deadly threat. So our rules of engagement are very different than military.
I was about to
But
say,
I can understand why a conservation agent would kick off a round, because saying I was scaring off a mountain lion or I was scaring off a bear, that's much easier than saying I had to put this thing down.
Well, especially if it's an endangered species. How'd you like to do the paperwork on that?
No kidding.
The point I was making about it is you have to be accountable for where that round goes. That's why most agencies don't. Even something like that, if there'd been another hiker out there or something like that, and he'd have, did
it say he put a round in the air or into the ground?
It said in the air, but that
shot.
The round's going to come down somewhere.
That's true. What goes up has to come down.
Yeah,
Rodney will tell you. We had a woman here in Pickens County that got, not from a warning shot, but got killed because people were firing. They were somewhere, I want to say it was 6 miles, somewhere like that, but they were shooting up in the air, thought they were just, being funny. And woman about a quarter of a mile away was outside hanging her laundry up. Bullet come down, hit her in the top of the head and killed her.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah. Ballistic trajectory. Removing wind resistance is going to hit the ground at the same velocity it left that gun.
Nick, I can't answer that. I know there used to be. There used to be fire towers all over the forests of Missouri, but they phased a lot of them out, but they didn't tear a lot of them down. Some they did, some they didn't. I know a bunch of them up by Lake of the Ozarks are still there, but I haven't been down to Drury, Mincy yet. But that's something I'm going to have to find out when I get down there, because on the maps I haven't seen any, but they would show up pretty tiny. So one of the things I'm going to look for, because if we can get access to one of those old fire towers, that would be a great place to spend the night and watch with thermal.
I would definitely feel much better up at a fire tower than at ground level.
Yeah?
It's a little more defendable for one thing.
Yeah. Lima Mike Foxtrot, quote the fat electrician, it ain't a war crime the first time.
I almost wore my
try that one in
firefighter shirt.
Try that one in court after you discharge your duty weapon and kill somebody like that. Tell me how that works for you.
That won't work in a civilian court, but I appreciate the humor there.
Yeah.
Lead-Laced Anarchy says there's a guy in Oklahoma shooting a gun on Christmas at Red Bull cans and ended up killing a woman who was hanging out with her family on a screened-in porch miles away. It can happen, man. Like we said, that bullet gets in the air, it's going to come down somewhere. And if you're in the way of where that's coming down, you're going to catch a bullet.
Yep.
Lori Gibbs says Drury, Mincy is where? It's in southwest Missouri near the Arkansas border. Yeah, I still like that ranger's reaction. Yeah, that really just gives a lot of credence to their story.
Mm-hmm. Little Patty, you're not helping me feel any better about this. I've already volunteered to go with these idiots.
Well, Patty, but however, though, if it's wanting to come up that fire tower, it's going to have to come through a hell of a lot of artillery. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start the last encounter, but this one ties in to the one that we just had, the story we just had. This is the Ranger firefight. 2 weeks after the teen growers incident, Ranger Daniel Hargrove returned to Drury, Mincy with a 3-person team. They weren't there to investigate the teens' claims. They were there because something had been tearing up campsites, shredding trail cameras, and leaving claw marks on trees 8 feet off the ground. Officially, they were checking for bear activity. Unofficially, Hargrove knew better. The team, Hargrove, a ranger named Ellis, and another one named McBride, arrived just before dusk. The air was heavy, the sky bruised purple, the forest unsettlingly still. Even the insects seemed to be holding their breath. Ellis mutters, "Feels wrong out here." Hargrove nodded, "Stay sharp." They hiked toward the primitive campground, flashlights cutting the narrow tunnels in the dark. The deeper they went, the quieter the woods became. No birds, no wind, no movement. They found the first sign. A tree trunk, massive, old, and thick, raked with long vertical gouges. The marks were deep, clean, and spaced too far apart to be from any known animal. McBride whispered, "That's not a bear." Before Hargrove could respond, the woods around them erupted. A scream, long, sharp, and layered with deep, vibrating growls, tore through the trees. It came from the left, then the right, and then behind them. 3 creatures, 3 angles, closing in. Ellis raised his rifle. "Movement 10 o'clock!" A shape burst from the brush, tall, upright, and fast. Ellis fired a warning shot, but the creature didn't flinch. It didn't slow down. It simply veered left and disappeared behind a cedar with impossible speed. Another shape lunged from the opposite side, and McBride fired. The creature staggered, then straightened, unharmed. Hargrove shouted, "Fall back! Fall back!" They retreated toward the campground clearing, with the creatures crashing through the brush right behind them. Footsteps pounding the earth, branches snapping, growls echoing through the trees. "They're flanking us!" Ellis yelled. Hargrove knew it. He could feel it. The creatures weren't chasing him. They were driving the Rangers exactly where they wanted them. They reached the clearing just as the first creature stepped into the open. It was massive, 7.5, maybe 8 feet tall, shoulders broad, arms long, tail swaying behind it. Its eyes glowed amber in the flashlight beams. It exhaled a deep, rolling chuff. Then it charged. Ellis fired 3 rounds center mass, and the creature didn't even slow down. It didn't slow, it didn't react, nothing. It just kept coming. McBride shouted, "It ain't going down!" Another creature burst from the tree line, cutting off their escape. A third circled behind them, growling low, the sound vibrating through the ground. Hargrove realized the truth in a cold, sinking wave. They weren't fighting animals. They were fighting a coordinated attack. The first creature lunged, closing the distance in seconds. Hargrove fired at the ground in front of it, kicking up dirt. The creature skidded, not from pain, but from surprise. It wasn't expecting resistance. "Run!" Hargrove shouted. The Rangers sprinted toward the service road, the creatures crashing after them. One slammed into a tree so hard the tree shook. Another leapt over a fallen log with terrifying ease. Hargrove could hear one behind him, its breath hot, heavy, and close. Too close. They burst onto the road just as a second ranger truck had arrived. The headlights washed over the clearing, and the creatures froze at the edges of the trees. Not afraid, not startled, just watching. Hargrove dove into the truck, shouting, "Go, go, go!" The driver floored it. The creatures didn't follow. They simply stood there, tall and silent, eyes glowing in the dusk and the headlights. As the truck sped away, Hargrove looked back. One of the creatures stepped forward, placing a hand on a tree trunk. Its claws sank into the bark with slow, deliberate pressure. A warning, a promise, a line drawn in the sand. The next morning, the primitive campground was closed for renovations. There was nothing to renovate. No plumbing, no structures, no facilities. But all new signs went up. No trespassing, area closed, danger. And the Rangers never spoke publicly about what happened that night, but Hargrove told one person. He said they didn't go down, they didn't bleed, they didn't stop, and they weren't scared of us. Not even a little bit. Thanks, Josh, for being a new member. Roxanne, yeah, for entertainment purposes only. This was a full-on engagement.
Oh, full on firefight.
Yeah. Which is why I don't want to go down there in a small group. I want to take enough people where we can lay down suppressive power if we need to. I want to gather. I want to gather evidence if at all possible, even video or even audio evidence. But I don't plan on getting it. But we learned one thing: gunfire didn't slow them down, and it didn't seem to hurt them. So my guess is they were probably carrying standard ARs, probably 5.56. So we may need something with a little more thump to it. So I'm thinking that 300 blackout will probably do the trick.
Yep.
Hope N4 UPD says, hope you don't run into that scenario. Well, that's kind of our worst case scenario, so we're going to pack accordingly.
You still got that 458 there, Robbie?
Him and Doc both. I want to get one built, but I haven't had the money.
Yeah, I've only got a standard AR, so
I've got a couple of just standard 5.56 ARs, but I don't know that 5.56 is going to really do much damage.
got some.
So what do you think? Do you think they escaped or the creatures let them go?
I honestly think they escaped. Assuming that this creature has near human intelligence, the gesture of it having its hand on the tree and then kind of squeezing the tree, that's almost like a gesture of resignation.
I think what I found most interesting is that one old boy put three rounds center mass and it didn't even stumble. That lends credence to what we were saying about thicker bone density and thicker muscle. Mm-hmm. Now 5.56 has got quite a bit of penetration, but I wouldn't use it on like an elk.
No,
because you probably won't get it killed. You'll wound it, but you won't kill it.
I mean,
I wouldn't try to drop a gorilla with one either.
Right. Probably just piss it off.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I mean, basically it's just a high velocity 22.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at the end, as they were driving away and he said he saw it digging its claws into the tree, I think that was a straight up, you come back and this is our territory. You come back, we're not going to let you go so easy.
Yep. You're going to get it. Or worse.
Mondoc, yeah, I'd love to have a Beowulf, but I can't afford it. Do you think there was just 3, or do you think there were others? Just because I saw 3 doesn't mean there weren't more.
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably more than just 3, but
well, the critters might not have been counting on the other vehicle showing up.
Now, Robbie, what did they tell us? That in a critical incident, when your adrenaline's pumping, your accuracy drops to less than 10%. Mm-hmm. So there's a good chance he did not hit it.
Or at least if he did, it wasn't center mass like he thought it was.
Right. That's what your training tells you to aim at. But when you're backpedaling and moving, he might not have hit at all. Just playing devil's advocate there. Those could have been 3 clean misses. Depending on the range, it'd be tough to tell unless he saw the impacts.
And I'm sure some of them were probably firing with their sidearms. So if they're firing on a standard 9mm, that would even if they were direct hits with a 9mm, there's probably the bone density and the muscle structure.
Yeah, this was a straight up battle.
Mm. Yep. And we was not winning.
Little Patty says, DA, so do you think they were surrounding them to show how easy it could be to warn them? I don't know. I think they were trying to get those old boys. Same thing with the teenagers. I think if that other vehicle hadn't been there, different story.
I think they remembered the smell of that Ranger, and there was a score to
They
settle.
have.
Can I guarantee
Roxanne,
you?
yeah, I definitely want to go. I know me, I'm an idiot, and I still want to go. Cats mark territory by their claws and scent glands in their paws. Yeah, I definitely think that thing was telling him, this is ours. I think it was digging into that tree, saying, this is our territory. You better still let us stay the heck out. Nick Bohr says, "What if these things are built? What if these things are built like they're wearing a flak jacket because of the body size and muscle size and bone density?" Yeah, I think it's kind of natural armor. It may have just been the way they evolved. I mean, just a thicker bone plate to support a much heavier frame. I think it just makes sense that they would be much harder to hurt with small caliber rounds than, say, a human-sized target or even like a deer or something. But I think these things are definitely probably denser than we are.
Well, that's why a silverback gorilla that stands 6 feet tall when it stands up, that's why it can weigh 700-800 pounds.
Yeah,
because the bone density is.
Yeah, their musculature and their skeletal structure is much denser than ours.
It's the same reason they can't swim. They sink right to the bottom.
Yep. I think the Rangers made the right decision, a tactical retreat, because I don't see them putting them down with 9mm and ARs.
I wouldn't feel comfortable with my AR, even like AP rounds, honestly.
We're coming up on the top of the third hour. We probably ought to start winding things down.
Probably should.
Yeah, but folks,
almost I like to sleep tonight.
Yeah, the takeaway from this is, the Drury Mincy Woods may be quiet now, but that doesn't mean they're going to stay that way. The campground's closed, the trails are empty, and the signs say no trespassing. But it's really simpler than that. That area has been claimed. For nearly half a century, something's been testing us, circling us, pacing us, hurting us, driving us out. And now, after the firefight, after the charges, after the Rangers saw what they saw, the creatures don't need to hide anymore. They drew a line in the trees, a boundary, a warning. And we stepped back. But here's the thing about predators. They don't stop when you retreat. They don't forget, and they don't forgive. They wait. They watch. And when the woods go silent, when the cicadas cut off mid-buzz and the wind dies down, that's when the night feels too heavy. And that's when you know you've crossed the line. Because in Drury Mincy, the dark doesn't just surround you. It chooses you. And once it does, you run. You always run. But you never run fast enough. Folks, this has been the Nightmare Hunters. Stay out of the dark hollows. Stay out of the dark. And whatever you do, don't answer the scream. So, folks, I hope you guys enjoyed this little trip into the darkness of the Ozark Woods. As we winding down, we have to discuss a little bit about our big affiliates. The first one being the good folks over at Dark Angel Medical. You've seen the commercial a couple times tonight. Check out the good folks over at darkangelmedical.com. Use discount code CRYPTID20 for 20% off your order. Veteran-owned business, best kits in the business. Definitely go check them out. Check out the good folks over at scallywagtactical.com. They've got all kinds of sales going on right now. Use discount code DARoberts10 for 10% off your entire order. And I do believe that stacks with some of the holiday specials they've got going on. Check them out. They've got some awesome blades. And if you're going to be spending any time in the woods, trust me, you're going to want a good one. And then check the good folks over at SigwoArms.com. They're a local gun manufacturer. They make some fantastic firearms, whisper pickles, and make their own ammo. Check them out and use discount code discount code Bigfoot5 for 5% off your order. And now that it is 2026, there is no NFA tax if you want to buy a whisper pickle. Suppressor. I call them whisper pickles. But if you want to pick one up, you don't have to pay the $200 tax stamp. So it's just the price of the unit itself. So check them out. Let them know we sent you. Tell the Codys we sent you, and to let them know that this is where you heard about them. And Robbie, you want to tell us a little bit about everybody's books?
Yep, you can check out Luca's, DA's, and my books all on Amazon.com. Luca is mine and DA's cover artist for our last couple of books. She writes the same style and genre that DA and I do. So if you like our books, you'll really like her. She's got about 12 books out now, I think. DA's at 37 and counting. And I think Devil Labs Rokas is still number one, or at least it was last time I checked. You can also find his books at daroberts.net. Go check him out while you're there. Go check my books out too. My latest one is Grail Avalon Rising. I'm working on, that was number 7, and I'm working on 8 and 9 now. 8's probably going to be Shadow Walkers Project Manicore. I think I've decided I'm going to get that one out first, and then number 9 will be Valley of Bones. So look for those Shadow Walkers, or Shadow Hunters Project Manicore should be coming out sometime this month, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. And then in February, look for Valley of Bones to be coming out.
That'll be awesome. It's a good book. I've really enjoyed what I've read so far. I also want to put up Luca's info. Let me. There's the link right there on screen to get Robbie's books, and here's Luca's. You can find hers at lucatjacobs.com or on Amazon.com. Just like, thank you, Don. Appreciate that. Just like me and Robbie, you can find us all on Amazon. And here's the link for mine. You can find all of mine at daroberts.net or on Amazon.com. And I hope you guys will check them out. We really appreciate that. And remember what we say, folks. Stories are journeys that we take together, and we appreciate you guys taking these journeys with us. And I hope you've liked this little dark wanderings into the Ozark legends and mysteries of these mountains and valleys. But this is just the beginning, folks, because we're planning a full-on outing into Drury, Mincy, and we hope to come back with good video and audio to share with all of y'all. So, folks, thank you guys for hanging out with us. I really appreciate you guys being with us tonight. And as we come to the end of the evening, we like to close things out with a toast. And Steve, since you're not normally with us, you want to take us out into the toast tonight? I'll bring
Absolutely.
I'll bring it up on the screen.
I say I've got it memorized by now. All right, and this comes from the Parting Glass, just kind of a little send off as you leave the bar, but a little more deep meaning is, you leave and some don't. But since it fell into my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be to you all. Slunchama.
And we'll see you guys on Monday night with Monday Mayhem. Good night, everybody, and thank you for being here.
Plains, the winds are howling, saloon doors swinging, shadows growling. 3 lawmen stand tough as rawhide. Yeah, Doc DA, nothing can abide. Whiskey shots and poker faces, staring down the darkest spaces in this town where legends roam. These boys bring justice, sending evil home. Cryptid lawmen, wild and free, hunting monsters for all to see. With silver bullets and grit of steel, they fight the darkness, make the demons squeal. From dusty canyons to moonlit plains, justice rides with wind and rains. Cryptid lawmen, a fearsome sight, standing tall against the endless night. feel. Doc's a bite and makes the devil real, but DA's a shifty one. A shape-shifting soul can turn to anything, takes any form, takes control. Tonight the chupacabras come to town, sucking the life from all around. But these lawmen, they ain't afraid. They'll face the darkness unafraid. Cryptid lawmen, wild and free, hunting monsters for all to see. With silver bullets and grit of steel, they fight the darkness, make the demons squeal. From dusty canyons to moonlit plains, justice rides with wind and rain. Cryptid lawmen, a fearsome sight, standing tall against the endless night. Full moon rises, bat wings flap, the air grows cold, a chill and trap. But these lawmen, they're ready to fight underneath the pale moonlight. Jet and Doc transform with a howl. DA shifts, becomes a night owl. Together they stand, a force so strong against the evil right in the wrong. Cryptid lawmen, wild and free, hunting monsters for all to see. With silver bullets and grit of steel, they fight the darkness, make the demons squeal. From dusty canyons to moonlit plains, justice rides with wind and rains. Cryptid lawmen, a fearsome sight, standing tall against the endless